I know a knockout deal when I see one. And the guys from Enhance have beaten everyone to the punch. Right now there's up to a third off orangeries, up to a third off conservatories, and up to a third off modern glazed extensions. I'd want them in my corner. To get these fantastic deals, visit their showrooms at Azure Garden Centre, Cramlington, or at Gosforth Garden Centre. Knockout deals from a Northeast company. That's Enhance. Visit enhanceconservatories.com.
Sorry to hear that, Steve, by Take Games.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 366th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining us on the call we have Andy Patterson, Ozzie Smith and Dave the Hater Lowback. Yes, we're having a laugh in these barren times. Hope everybody's safe out there. Joining us on mixler.com/boxing asylum from 8 o'clock on a Sunday evening. iTunes, Soundcloud. Where else is it? What's the other one? Apple Podcasts, something like that. On a Monday, we'll see you there anyway. You know the usual drill by now. Let's check in on the boys, make sure everybody's safe out there. Andy, quick update. How are you? Got cabin fever yet?
Yeah, mate, the social experiment in Scotland's going well. I'll be a full-blown alcoholic by the time I get back to work. Probably in the next 12 weeks or whatever it is. We'll wait and see. Yeah, so doing pretty well here anyway. Obviously, other places are hitting a wee bit hard with it. Some arseholes still going about doing what they want to do, but other than that, we're all good. Hopefully everybody else is staying safe.
Hopefully so. Just looking in the chat there, a few of the boys and girls hanging around. Take Ames is in as usual. Matt Russell too. Arlene Burley, Swaggy Taggy, welcome to you all. Jason Chuckrew from the beginning. Things must be getting barren there. Oh, that's from last week. Sorry, no, Chuckrew's not here. Sorry to get your hopes up there. Ozzie is indeed here. Welcome to you, Ozzie. How's things over there? What's the latest?
Just cracking on. That's all you can do. Permanently working from home now. Only allowed in the depots if it's an emergency. So we crack on. We keep doing what we're doing.
Ozzie's been listening to Eddie Hearn, that British bulldog spirit. You know, putting the great back into Great Britain again, eh, mate?
Mate, he's an idol of mine. So if I can replicate anything that he does, that clearly makes me a better person. So yeah, definitely. I'm all about the spirit and all about the Hearns.
And a hard earner as well, mate. That's what Eddie likes the pound note. Keep going.
Exactly. Money, money, money.
In the rich man's world.
Evening, Eddie. Churn with her.
Evening, Eddie. How you doing, Edward?
He's listening
all
in.
Good. Oh, he's
Needs something to
you
do with himself. No, he's not putting his own podcast out. How are you, Hater Dave Lowe, back over there in America? Feeling safe with your guns? You can't shoot this virus, Dave.
No, but I can shoot people who have it coming at me.
Yes. Love it.
At the moment, I don't need to. I've been driving around. I've been working a lot because our industry does not rest for this. I guess we're classed as first responders, so I can talk to y'all while I'm driving in between stories. I better move out of the intersection here. But yeah, I don't have my concealed carry permit yet, so I can't carry my gun with me. But ideally, I would. I think firearms were recently designated as essential survival gear, so shops are allowed to remain open.
What would you carry, Dave? What would you carry? An AK or a fucking Mac 9?
Well, carrying a gun of that size is a little impractical unless you have like a trench coat or something. I have a 357, but even that's a little too bulky.
Your local high schools will have like a trench coat.
You
get over there.
Columbine or something.
Exactly. Fucking Kurt Cobain type style cunts, you know.
That's not the usual for American dress. Although they do look cool. I mean, not that the shooters look like little pussy pricks, and I'm glad they're dead. But no, I mean the trench coat looks cool. I'm gonna say I would have to get a 9mm. I would scale down for a concealed carry if I was going to conceal carry. What were we talking about?
You were telling us how to kill people, Dave. More tips coming later on in the show from Hater Dave Loback.
Is Emily in the chat?
No, I haven't seen Emily in a while, actually.
Yeah. We all miss Emily.
She got outed. Or he got outed, sorry.
Jason Chuckrew has joined the chat, everybody. Jason Chuckrew, Dave, is in the chat. Any messages for Jason on this Sunday evening?
I'm glad you're awake, Jason.
I was wondering if Jason's weed's going to go up in price because he'll be getting a hard time trying to buy it now, you know. Supply and demand. Get what happens when the supply runs low. Price goes up. Jason smoking all that ganja, baby.
We'll hear from Jason later on, hopefully. Andy's on top form tonight, so's Dave the Hater Lowback and Ozzie Smith. Before we get the first of our two guests on for the evening, Ozzie, we had a bit of pushback back at you from Holt in the patreon.com/Boxing Asylum chat. We were talking about Kubrat Pulev last week fighting Anthony Joshua. As and when this fight takes place, we don't know. But Holt says, I'm unsure why Ozzie doesn't rate Pulev whatsoever, despite him manhandling Hughie Fury, Chisora, etc., and clearly being on fucking shit-hot PEDs. I personally reckon, says Holt, he's going to spark AJ, and who he'll try to outbox, as he did John Ruiz in his last fight. So a bit of a pushback for you there, Ozzie, on the old Kubrat Pulev gate.
Did he say John Ruiz?
No, maybe I did though. I don't know. Andy Ruiz is talking about. Sorry.
So hang on, let's not bang on about like a Hughie Fury win is, like this excellent top level win. Hughie Fury's not performed above British level. His best performance was knocking out Sam Sexton. We've not really seen much else from that. When he does step up, he's on the back end of defeats. And Derek Chisora has been long past it, in my opinion. I mean, the only reason people rave over him now is because he's got a bit of a push from Sky. But again, we've seen this guy dominated a number of times by Tyson Fury, knocked out by Dillian White. I know they were closer fights, but let's have it right. Again, that win is nothing to, dance home about. And as I was saying, from that Chisora win, he's fought Samuel fucking Peter, Kevin Johnson, Hughie Fury, Bogdan Dinu, and Rydell Booker. So this is a guy who thinks he's going to spark Anthony Joshua. Well, Joshua's been fighting at a massively high-level opponents, and if Pulev did get a win over someone like Andy Ruiz, that would be a best win for him. I mean, you look down Pulev's record now, in reality, what we're talking his best win is? Tony Thompson? Someone like
Hughie.
that?
Probably Hughie.
Hughie Fury? Well, there we go then. It's not that I don't rate him, I just don't see him posing a threat to Anthony Joshua. Simple as that. And I think Joshua will spark Pulev out. I think he's made for him.
I think Joshua will knock out Pulev, but I think Pulev will give him the runaround for a few rounds. I think he's an awkward guy, flicks in and out, quite an awkward style. And he's only been beaten once by Klitschko. We went through all this, last week, so we don't really need to go over it. But I thought that Holt, who's a regular contributor, raised an interesting point, so give Ozzie his chance to reply. Andy, we were just talking off air there briefly before we came on, a little bit late. Apologies for that. Sad times and all, about whenever the shows get back and running. We're not just going to go flying back into the shows again, are we? All of a sudden Pulev and Joshua are going to magically appear in Tottenham Stadium. People are going to come back. There's going to be a level of devastation, not to throw the hyperbole too much out here. There's going to be a lot of financial implications as well. Yeah. People aren't going to be able to throw down money on boxing tickets as quickly as the promoters would like.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I was just thinking about, obviously we're talking about it before we came live and that. I mean, I think depends on who you believe on, what you're reading and stuff. But I think they're looking at 12 weeks, maybe looking into maybe June to see where maybe get back to some sort of normality. But even if we do get back to normality, that I mean, we're not going to get the big shows straight away. I mean, can you imagine if they somehow managed to get the Joshua fight on for, say, August or early September, and this thing still hasn't cleared up, they're going to lose money. So they're going to obviously want to kind of touch the waters, smaller shows, potentially behind closed doors. You just don't know how the consumer confidence is going to be. Are people going to be willing to buy tickets? Are they just going to go mental because, freedom at last, we can get back out to do something? Or they're going to be a wee bit kind of cautious? And as you say, the financial implications and that as well. People having to kind of default on mortgages at the minute or get deferments. People are losing jobs. Is there going to be a job market to go back to for these guys who have lost jobs and stuff? There's going to be utter devastation. Reading yesterday something like, if we get past 20, less than 20,000 deaths, and that we're doing pretty well. That's scary to think that. But again, as you say, but this has had far reaching consequences for people the world over, not just in Britain, but you can imagine it as well. The NBA, I think, are talking about trying to get back out sometime in June, I think it was. They can do it behind closed doors. They've had some players test positive and stuff. The NFL's due to kind of kick up its training season shortly. That's not going to happen anytime soon. The football seasons worldwide are getting shut down to the point whereas they're potentially talking about not even starting back up again until August. And they say that's potentially a push to finish like this season and start next season with the European qualifiers and that as well. So, as people want to go back to it in 50,000, crowds and stuff, and want to sit beside somebody who's still maybe got this disease and they've never had it and they catch it, they spread it and stuff. There are a lot of things to think about. So I think, like I say, if you're going to get the boxing shows back up with amateur events, probably behind closed doors, maybe get I don't know, British title fights or area level fights done at kind of smaller venues, maybe be very very small crowds, maybe behind closed doors, and just to see how it goes, how the public situation is health wise, before we can start then kind of saying the public can start spending money. But they expect the economy to come roaring back and that after we get back up to normal. But we'll just need to wait and see how it goes, because again the financial implications for guys like ourselves, Joe Public, and the people in the poverty line and that is going to be fucking devastating.
Yeah, you can't exactly see people splashing out for a ringside VIP tickets. To watch
800 quid, £1,000, no chance.
Yeah, I was going to say 1,200 quid or something like that. It's just not going to happen. I think you're going to see shows put on at lower levels, York Hall, like not sports halls, but like the smaller arenas where they can realistically get a return on them, put out cheaper tickets. I think it's a big punt if you're going to try and ask people to split with like 400 or 500 quid a ticket for when it goes. Essentially, if they've not been earning, look, a lot of people are going to be on 80% wages. They're going to be struggling. It's testing times for a sport that in reality isn't blessed with cash and is a working man sport on history.
Thanks very much, Ozzie, for holding the fort there. Delighted to welcome our first guest of the evening on the call. It's Steve Goodwin. How are you, Steve?
Oh, I'm very well. How are you keeping?
Not too bad at all, Steve. How are you coping, I suppose, more to the point?
Well, I'm in self-isolation. I've been here for 9 days, so it's a bit on the lonely side, but hopefully I'll be able to sort of get back into the family situation at home in about 4 or 5 days. But at the moment, it's all on my own for another 5-6 days yet, I'm afraid. So one of those things.
Yeah, I suppose that's difficult for someone like yourself who's usually so active, calling, running around all the time.
Well, I'm still working as normal. I'm still doing everything that I can do. So I'm still working as normal. I'm remotely working. So I'm doing all of that. So it's not too bad. I'm still keeping busy. So it's not so much on the boxing side, 'cause there's not so much to do on that at this particular point. But on my main business, I'm able still to do that. And the boxing, really, it's nobody knows when, what, how, so it's very difficult to make plans with boxing at the moment.
Yeah, obviously it's an upsetting time and all that, but you had a show lined up as well, didn't you, with Linus Adofia? I mean, tell us about that.
Well, that was a good show, but we did the show on the 14th, and to be honest, this was before the government had called off, and I felt really, really uncomfortable on the 14th. So I felt, as though there were shows and everybody was out, I didn't feel very good that night. I felt very uncomfortable doing it. And we got there and we then had to just play through we were fairly sure everything was going to get cancelled, so we just let it play out. But we pretty much knew it was like, it had to be pulled. I mean, the government were right to stop everything, and maybe they could have done it a bit before, but time will tell. But yeah, it's a shame for all the boxers that had trained so hard for that night, because it's just frustrating for them. I mean, boxers are in for a hard time now, and it's very, very, very sad that they trained all that time and then the fight doesn't take place for them. It's really gutting.
I suppose it's no understatement to say that there are guys now who possibly won't box again because of these circumstances, might have to jack it in.
I think that's very possible. I mean, obviously, my views on how long this is going to take. I mean, I'm a financial advisor. That's my job.
Yeah.
And I mean, I class myself as an economist as well, and everything like that. And we've got all the health situations to sort first, then we've got the economy to sort, and then boxing comes after. And I think that definitely for small hall boxing, I think we're in for a long. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I think we're for a very long time out. Very long time.
Yeah, obviously supporters are the lifeblood of small hall shows, so you can't expect them to go on with no one in the audience. But some, high-level promoters like Sir Bob Arum have spoke about having fights in studios, or they were going to do Conlan, weren't they, with no supporters? What do you think about that?
They can do that, but remember, they can't fly boxers in.
Yeah.
Even if you do it in the UK, you can't fly boxers in. So journeymen aren't going to be in the gyms for one show. I mean, that has to be getting a lot of notice. But what you've got to remember, there's one major issue here that people seem to keep forgetting. It's the fact that you can't have a boxing show without doctors being there, without an anaesthetist being there, without an ambulance being there, and without hospital beds being available in case a boxer gets injured. Now, without a cure for the virus, how are you going? Can you imagine that? You flatten the curve a bit, so they're managing, but the virus is still there. I can't imagine doctors sitting in the EXO Arena saying, excuse us, 5 of us, we're just shooting off to a boxing show at your call or the O2. Sorry about these patients, but can somebody else look after them? Yeah. Let's be realistic. How can that possibly happen? And I think that's your first problem. Then when you overcome that, then you've got the fact that the virus is still out there. And who's going to want to go to a boxing show in close proximity to loads of people, knowing full well the virus is still there?
Yeah, we were talking about this before you jumped on the call, actually. Even whenever things obviously start to get back to normal, there's going to be financial implications for people who would have been buying tickets for these shows.
Correct. So that, and small halls dependent on people buying tickets. So you've got to overcome you've got to overcome the doctors. You've got to overcome the fact that people would want to go, because I don't know, I wouldn't want to go. And then you've got to find the fact that would they be able to afford to go? How long is it going to take? And I think when I've heard some small promoters saying, we're still hoping to put shows on in June. I think they're delusional. Absolutely, totally delusional. Yes, I think you're right. There will be boxers. Because, I think this could easily be, I'm hoping I'm wrong, a year or more.
Really?
And,
yeah.
Well, I can't see logic. If you think about the logic of it, everybody's being furloughed off work. The people who are self-employed and don't qualify don't get any money. They might be able to, I think the government will allow people to go back to work in 3 months, but there will still be social distancing rules, and there will still be people getting the virus, unless there's some medicine or treatment that comes up for it. When I say this, I'm assuming there's no cure or treatment. So I just don't see it. Who is going to want to go to your call, which would be, for example, a place where, my God, there's no air in there. It would spread like wildfire in there. So, and then you've got the gyms. Are they going to open the gyms and let everybody go in the gyms and infect each other? Are they going to allow that? So I'm not sure. There's a lot to play out here, but I just can't see. The earliest I could see, and that would be a miracle, I think, would be September. And I genuinely don't believe that's going to happen. But what the boxers do, they probably end up... the problem we've got at the moment is people's lives. And look at Anthony Yard's dad today. People's lives are going to be affected by this. And I just think this could be... this could be quite a long time out. Because even behind closed doors, you've still got the problem behind closed doors. Okay, boxers could take lower purses, but behind closed doors you still need doctors and ambulances. I don't think that would go down to if doctors tried to moonlight away from looking after people who are dying in hospital.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Apparently England Amateur Boxing have sent out letters saying that nothing will be happening until October at the earliest.
And that's optimistic. I honestly, genuinely think it's 12 months minimum. Minimum. You've got the economic shock to come after the health shock.
Yeah.
I just cannot see it, because people are missing the point. Look at how the NHS is overrun now. And this is just the start. We haven't even opened up the Excel Centre yet. So, they're calling in people who have retired in to help out with the doctors. Now, this is the flat of the curve. This isn't the top of the curve. So if you end up going back to this level, you're still not going to need doctors, are you? doesn't make. I just don't see. I think it's. I know it's all about. I speak to Kevin who works for me, and he always says to me, "You've got to be more positive. You've got to be more positive," and I get that. But I'm trying to be realistic. I don't want to be saying to my boxers, "Stay in the gym. You're likely to be fighting in June or July." Absolutely not a hope in hell is that going to happen.
Yeah.
Not a hope. Not a hope.
Are you fielding calls from your boxers? I mean, what's the sort of feedback you're getting from your fighters? What are their main concerns and that?
Well, some of them are. I try and say to them, you could have an injury. Consider, at the moment, treat it as if you've got an injury, because that's all you can do. You could have had an injury, and this is the way you're going to have to treat this. Try and make sure you've got employment. Try and make sure you've got a way of getting income. Because I always say to boxers on small ball, don't be a so-called full-time pro, because you can't. Full-time pros, so-called full-time pros, who train, they're dependent on sponsorships. And now, obviously, most sponsorships are going to fall by the wayside, aren't they? Because firms aren't going to be able to support boxers on the whole. So, they've got to go and hopefully, most of them have got jobs. So they'll just continue to hopefully get their job. But when this all finishes, once they get out of shape and they lose the regime of going to the gym, will they want to go back to ticket selling, getting fit again? A lot will, some won't. It'll be very hard. I feel really sorry for them. It's very hard, but there are more. I mean, boxing is a sport for us all, and we all love it. But at this particular moment in our lives, there are more important things out there than boxing.
Absolutely. Obviously, contingency plans going in left, right, and centre. What are your own hopes for Goodwin Boxing going forward? I mean, I know these are difficult questions. I have to ask you something. I mean, what are you thinking about the long-term future of the promotional company given this situation?
I don't know. I mean, we're because my business is not boxing and it's a hobby. It's not we're financially secure, so we haven't got issues that my income comes from boxing. My income doesn't really come from boxing, so we're able to ride the storm out. But everybody, we just don't know. It's really hard to say. We'll still be here, unlike a lot of others. But how long will it take to build it back up again? And I know people will want to go out when they get back. Well, what is going to be the state of the economy? What is going to be the state of people's finances? These all things need to know. So I don't think you can make any plans. We'll be there to support the boxers, help the boxers when we can, and try and advise them, which is what we do. But it's really hard to make any plans or have any aspirations, because at the moment, I think if you ask me what my aspiration is, it's to be alive in 12 months' time. Yeah. And I'm deadly serious. And that's because I've got health conditions. If I get it, I could be in trouble. So for me, that's what it's about. Is hopefully everybody, they get on top of this, and we're all able to be sensible enough, and most of us, stay alive, because that's where we start from, and then we can build back the boxing again. And those boxers that want to continue, we can continue with them. We can build them back up to the titles again, and everything else. And again, the positive is maybe somebody will come up with a treatment in 3 months that can treat people. Maybe there'll be something that comes out there where we're able to do this, and that's what it needs. Boxing needs something to come up to remove the strain of the doctors in the hospitals, and that's the first point. Once that happens, everything else will get back together, because the economy can restore itself, and then you can start getting a run to getting boxing back together. But when that happens, you've got to get boxers in the gym. Boxers have to go back in the gym. We have to get ready. So even when we say yes, we're good to go, you're probably 3 or 4 months away, aren't you? Yeah.
Just to remind our listeners, we have Steve Goodwin on the call. Won't keep you for too much longer, Steve. Boxing manager and promoter over on Twitter at Stephen G. Goodwin. One of our guys is asking you a question there, Steve. He said, ask Steve about booking arenas going forward. If we get the all clear, the market is going to get flooded. Everyone will be desperate to get back out making money and having their fighters fight.
Yeah, we've already got our dates booked. We book well in advance, so we haven't got a problem with dates. Some promoters, they do it. They don't. We set out our dates 18 months ahead. So we've got all our dates ready and scheduled, but we can't obviously do them if we're not allowed to. So we've got no problem. But yes, but on the other hand, I'm not so sure, because when you go back into this, I'm not so sure. If somebody goes in too quickly, they're just going to lose fortunes of money, and boxers are not going to fight. You've got to go back in when you believe that it's going to be the right time. I'm not so sure that's going to happen. Not so sure. I don't think there's going to be the money to do that.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Okay, another question coming in from Jason in the chat. He says, ask Steve Goodwin if he still promotes Anesu Tuwala. I sparred him 3 years ago in Deptford Green.
No, don't support. We don't. Unfortunately, Anesu got beat when he didn't look after his weight properly, and he really wasn't doing the right thing, and we had to go to the board, and it wasn't. We parted company because that wasn't really acceptable.
Fair enough. There you go, Jason. Who should we be keeping an eye on then? I mean, who was gaining momentum before the break, Steve, in your company?
We got loads. I mean, obviously Dion Juma was ready for his British title fight with Riakpo. He was mandatory for that. Linus Udofia was English. He was the English champion and a defender. He was going well. Brad Pauls was coming up through. Kate Prosper was, 9 months, 12 months away from a British title shot. And then we had some really good up and coming kids coming through. We had a lot of boxers really ready now to make the breakthrough. It's really, really a real shame. I look after about 90 fighters, and there was an awful lot of talent in there, and a lot of kids that were on their way through. People like Sam Cox, super flyweight. He was only probably 12 months away from a really big breakthrough. It's a real shame for them all, and something in life. It's just going to show how if they've got to really say to themselves, how much do you want it now? Because if you really, really want it, then you'll come back. If you're at a stage with boxing where your other things in life might be taken over, a lot of boxers will pack up and say, no, I don't want to go back to it again, I think. But yeah, we got a lot of. But again, I can only do my job when we're able to go back up and running, and it's right to do so health-wise, and boxers can still make money out of doing it. Then from our point of view, we'll be back on the horse and re-navigating their careers again. So we'll just restart from where we left off. But it's really hard to make any plans because we don't know the timescale.
Yeah, absolutely. Final one coming for you, Steve. Could this lack of boxing action speed things up when we do resume and we end up with a few big fights in a row as promoters scramble to make up for lost time and lost revenue?
I don't know about lost revenue. I think a lot of fighters will probably, fighters that are on the home side of selling tickets, I think a lot of them will say, sod this, we'll just go in now and find out if we're good enough.
Yeah.
I think it will speed up I think a lot of fighters will go in now. The fighters that build up to 9 or 10 fights, a lot of them now I think will say, no, I want to go in 50 fights, I want to see if I'm good enough. And also then it becomes less financial responsibility in small hall. I think in the bigger arena it's going to be slightly different. I don't think there'll be the money about. So I think without gate revenue and the revenue coming through from the TV, they will struggle. I mean, the purses at the higher level have been going to silly proportions, but I think all boxers at that level that have been getting really big money are going to unfortunately have a reality check.
Yep, it's a reality check even for us all. Thank you for being so forthright as always, Steve, and joining us on this Sunday evening. Stay safe out there, and we do appreciate you coming on.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All the best. Cheers, Steve.
Cheers then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That's Stephen G. Goodwin over on Twitter. Go and hit him up. Don't mess about, do they, these boys? Dennis Hobson, Steve Wood, Steve Goodwin. They speak the truth, a bit like us on a Sunday evening. Ozzie, like a bit of Steve Goodwin.
Very truthful.
He certainly gave Chukwu's mate is a failure.
I'll tell you what, I have a lot of time for that. I think it's good that people like Steve speak openly and honest, and there's no bullshit with him. I mean, I think recently he's been on the receiving end of a couple of bad uns from a managerial perspective. I thought he got Chisora into numerous positions and fights and opportunities, and he did an excellent job and was essentially tossed away by Chisora wrongfully, in my opinion. And he was bringing up that Florian Marcoux as well, who was selling. He sells bucket loads of tickets. I think he's from
that Albanian kid, yeah. Yeah,
Albania, yeah. And then he's just got rid of him. I think he's with Sam Jones now or something like that. And again, was just discarded like he was, just past his sell-by date. And he's clearly not. And you can tell just from listening to him and speaking to him that when he does talk, you listen. You've got a lot of time for him and a lot of respect because the guy knows his stuff. And I agree with him. I think promoters who've rescheduled fights for June, July, things like that is just tough. It's very ambitious. People aren't going to be buying tickets now, so what the gate was at is probably going to stick. And I think a lot of people will be refunding them because if they've forked out, say, a couple of £100 for a ticket, they may need that £200 now, and it'll be easier to get a refund from your point of purchase and get your money back than it will in the hope that, oh yeah, the show will be in July or June, and then it'll get delayed again. People will just be taking the money and running, and I agree with him from a top level perspective. I don't think the cash will be there. I'll be impressed if for fights like Joshua they're going to be getting what. Yeah, it's going to 70,000. If they can get that charging the ticket prices, then I'll be very impressed. And that's not from any promotional level. That's from a perspective from where the economy is going to be struggling. If you can get people to part with their funds, I'll be very, very impressed.
It could reset the entire market, to be honest with you, because there's like Barcelona, Juventus, and is it Atletico Madrid? They're all wanting their players to take 80%. These are like three of the preeminent clubs in Europe at the minute. You know, they've got one of the biggest names in world, two of the biggest names in world football playing with them, earning mega millions, and they're asking them to take cuts or defer payments and stuff. It's a good like for boxing.
Yeah, I think. I mean, in my opinion, at the top level, I think boxing purses were out of control.
Yeah,
similar to like what they are in like the Premier League and top level.
Oh, that was my next point. Can you imagine Sky want to fucking keep paying all that cash to the EPL for football that they're not going to get? Can you imagine? Well, we're not going to pay that money anymore. What's going to happen to the EPL clubs that are fucking basically mortgaged up the fucking gazoo on all these EPL on all these Sky payments?
Yeah, exactly. And then from a boxing perspective, which TV money, I mean, it's been openly said that makes a massive difference. And I think firms, they've got big backers and they've got cash, but are they want to be going to invest in things like that? I'm not sure. I mean, we've seen the amount of pay-per-views that are happening at the moment. You think people like once they're on the recovery, they're back at work and things like that, they're going to be forking out for what, 3 or 4 pay-per-views in 4 months? Not a chance. An extra 80, 100 quid just gone just to watch 4 shows? No way. I think it's a difficult time for the sport, and as I say, it's traditionally, like a working man's. The funds aren't there, and whilst it has changed scope to a perspective, as Steve mentioned about small hall, Steve Goodwin mentioned about small hall shows, they're solely reliant on ticket sales, and without people going to those shows, small hall boxing just simply won't exist unless you've got a promoter who's essentially willing to forfeit tens of thousands of pounds to ensure, 1, his fighters fight, and 2, they get paid.
Hey to Dave, what have you been watching in the absence of boxing? Well, I suppose you didn't really watch boxing anyway, did you? Have you been going back and watching old fights or listening to old podcasts or anything?
I have. I've been listening to our special episodes that can be found at patreon.com. Punches from the Past. I did Hopkins Trinidad, that Michael Gomez versus whoever the hell he fought. Don't remember. Asalina Freitas. Some of the old good ones. What was the one I was up to? I don't remember. Maybe Leonard Hagler. Yeah, but go on there. Go on Patreon, and there's plenty of good content there just waiting to be viewed. But as far as boxing, no, I haven't been watching actual fights. Well, they're certainly not live fights because they haven't existed. But the history, I mean, I could certainly stand to get into it if I had the time. Unfortunately, I don't. I would definitely be watching boxing right now if I had like extra time. Unfortunately, everybody else is stuck at home, not working. I mean, I shouldn't say unfortunately. I'm lucky to have the job I have, but shit, I'm driving all over the place. There's no one else on the roads, no one on the streets. Just looking for stories.
Dave, this is a time when we look after our neighbours. Have you been on the phone to Eric Spring, see if he needs any bog roll or anything brought round?
Lowback is going to book like fucking Ted Bundy.
Low
At
back
least-
of the truck, all them bodies.
Look in the windies and that, like, who can I fucking kidnap here?
At least Ted Bundy had charisma. You have to give that to him.
Yeah, I'll give it. Yeah, you're never sure what was spoken there, by the way.
Yeah, many people said that.
Also had a foreskin as well.
I
So I'm
imagine
told.
this has hit Eric Spring pretty hard since his main focus in life seemed to be boxing, and he was not a very good boxer. So, this can't be very good for him or any boxer, honestly. But, especially these small hall guys like the guys we were just talking about with Steve Goodwin. They're struggling the most, you imagine, even though a lot of them do have side jobs, which has to suck. I mean, trying to make it as a pro boxer while working full-time or part-time, that's something else to support yourself.
I thought Steve made a great point about fighters walking away. I agree with that. If they have to take 12 months out and they're not injured and they can't do anything about it, they may think, they may get a full-time job, earning decent dough, and actually think, I can get used to earning this, like a consistent wage. I don't have to go out pushing tickets all the time. And they may just think, I've tried boxing, it didn't work out, naturally, due to unforeseen circumstances. But I might just think, well, why should I bother again? I think the ones that are kind of pro at the smaller level, who are fortunately backed by 3 or 4 sponsors, may well carry on, and naturally we want to see him do that. But I think a lot of fighters may well choose to walk away, particularly those potentially coming towards the end of the career. 12 months down the line, it's a long time, and while you're not doing anything, gyms are supposed to be closed at the moment because, naturally because of all the social distancing and things like that. There's only so much stuff you can do at home. And then, like you say, if you're going to get thrust into a fight, you either take the opportunity or you walk.
Anything else to add, Dave? Doesn't sound like it. We shall move on. Andy, quick one from you. Anything you've been watching? You're always good for a bit of YouTube action and a bit of Salvador Sanchez. Anything? What's been going on in the Patterson household?
I watched Cotto Margarito back this afternoon. Caught up a couple of Glenn McCrory fights, believe it or not. I stuck Hurd against Lara on there just as Steve Goodwin was talking and stuff. Couple of Gonzalez fights in that as well. What else have I been doing? I watched Trinidad against Joppy, and I watched Hopkins against Keith Holmes and Provodnikov against Alvarado, which you could probably say that was probably the actual end of Alvarado's peak, whoever was left of it anyway. Got absolutely beaten that night. So that's what I've been watching so far, mate.
Lovely stuff. Thanks for that, Andy. Delighted to welcome our second guest of the evening on the call. It's top journalist Steve Lillis. How are you, Steve?
I'm all right, mate. How are you? Okay?
Not too bad at all. How are you keeping during the lockdown then? Any cabin fever yet?
Yeah, not quite, mate. Pretty bored. Just getting up and trying to keep a bit of structure in my life. Getting up at normal time every morning and trying to find something to do for a couple hours and training. So that's about it. But you know what? It's hard for everybody. So we just got to crack on. Nothing we can do to control it.
Absolutely. We were talking to Steve Goodwin just now. It's a bit trite, obviously, talking about boxing in these times, but that's what we're here to do. What's your thoughts on the current situation regarding boxing? Do you think the sport will bounce back?
In what way? As we are today, if you talk where we are today, we're in limbo because nobody knows. But there's a lot of there's worrying times ahead for the sport. We're very, the longer it's delayed, the worse it's going to get for boxers. It's an industry. Every industry is suffering, and boxing is no different to any other. I think boxing's behaved itself fantastically compared with sports like football over the last few weeks, where they spoke about integrity and bringing back the feel-good factor. It's absolute nonsense when football's talking about that. Football hasn't got any integrity, or very little. It's all about we just don't want to have to give money back to TV companies to them. I mean, boxing's every promoter I've heard speak about it, Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, Steve Goodwin's been very good, and they spoke all about
people's health getting right is more important than any sport at the moment. But look, going back to the sport, there are troubling times ahead for the industry. You know, one problem that a lot of people have overlooked also, but even if boxing comes back in July, and you've got shows scheduled for the rest of the year, is booking venues for major shows, because I was speaking to a promoter the other day, and they said, you know, that's as big a headache as anything, because what you've got at the moment, you're competing with music promoters as well, because music tours are being rescheduled. So you're given certain dates by a TV company, and you can't get a suitable arena because the band has rebooked or put tours back 6 months. The other thing, it isn't like, you know, for example, horse racing, if they brought that back, said it could start next week, horses would be ready to run because they're still being trained on their gallops and what have you. I know that for a fact, and Stephen most probably may have told you that when he was early, because I know he's involved in horse racing. So I've got a cousin who's got race horses who's explaining that to me today. Footballers need 3 weeks. Now boxers, they're keeping fit at home, they're doing their running and their training, and you know, they must probably be in better shape when they get back in the gym than what they are after a 2-week holiday in August when they've been on the lash in Spain or somewhere. But they're still going to need 7 or 8 weeks in a boxing gym. You know, get you know, sparring, getting their boxing sharpness back. So you know, if sport could suddenly start on May the 2nd, there's no way boxing can start, because the fighters won't be fit. You know, boxing fit. They'll be fit, but they won't be fighting fit.
And with all the financial implications, you're going to be competing to get bums on seats and people buying tickets.
Hey, you know, the competition, you know, also you're going to be going up against other sports in the summer. You know, if football isn't behind closed doors, people are going to be going football. Everything's going to be crazy, so much. Let's assume, that we're being totally hypothetical, that boxing comes back in July and sport comes back in July. Fantastic if it can. We don't know. This could go on for a year. You know, could go on for 2 years. We don't know. You know, we're just listening to government advice, and the latest is there could be social distancing for 6 months, which is a major problem for any sport where you're going to have spectators there. You know, you're going to be fighting to get people in. You know, you're going to be competing with other sports. Promoters in boxing compete against each other all the time. The competition is going to be even fiercer, because say if you're just a TV fan of boxing, and let's be honest, you know, most people are TV fans of boxing. You know, outside the 5 or 6 names, we're still a minority sport. You know, we like to think it or not, but people watch on TV. So if you've got 3 pay-per-views 3-4 weeks in a row, what are you going to do? You know, people aren't going to be able to pay for 4 consecutive pay-per-views. For a start, you know, a lot of people are going to come off this financially worse off than they ever were through no fault of their own.
Have you been delving back through the archives, Steve, looking back on any classic fights during the lockdown?
You know what? I've been looking at a few. I looked at. I've been looking at. I found a great one the other day. I can only find highlights of it. Fight around 1982 when I went to the Royal Albert Hall. Ray Cattouse against George Feeney, British lightweight title fight. It's one of the most understated British title fights ever. But I can only find 4 or 5 minutes of it on YouTube. So if anyone can find that, Ray Cattouse, George Feeney, 1982 Royal Albert Hall, the full fight, drop me a message on social media or something. I've also been looking at a lot of Carl Thompson fights. He's one of my all-time favourite fighters. He's the most exciting British fighter of the last 35 years to me. And I was only a couple of days ago looking at the Ezra Sellers fight. I think that one fight of the year when they had that fight, incredible 4-round war. That was in Manchester many years ago in the early 2000s.
Yeah, we had Carl Thompson on the show talking about that great fight indeed. You've obviously been ringside for so many great nights yourself. Which are some of the ones that stand out, Steve?
Oh, well, you know, globally, you know, on a worldwide stage, going overseas, Holyfield Bow 1, absolute sensational fight. That round 10 of that fight in the Thomas and Mack Centre. Even now talking to you, the whiskers are sort of warming up talking about it, and that 10th round was something else that night. I sat next to Harry Mullen for that fight, the late and great editor of Boxing News, and at the 10th round, you know, no, you're not meant to in the media. you're meant to be this bastion of impartiality. You couldn't help but just stand up and applaud what had unfolded in those 180 seconds. Just the finest 3 minutes of heavyweight boxing I've ever seen. You come back to also, a tragic fight, but the drama around Ben McClellan was something else. Just totally amazing. Nights like, as I was a kid, Katoos Feeney and, Thompson, Ezra Sellers, what a fight that was. I've been blessed to have been around so many nights in this sport, around so many mad characters, and been involved in so many nutty fight weeks over the years. You take nothing for granted, and I just count myself very, very lucky to have been involved. But yeah, Bo Hollifield 1 is the fight that stands out to me, and some of the following the Lennox Lewis in the 1990s, going to all these fights was something special, and being around some of the Mike Tyson events as such, maybe when he wasn't the fighter he was, the madness around the Friends Bota fight, to the lunacy, to the week of the Danny Williams fight. Just totally incredible incredible sport to be in, and to be around. There is quite no sport like it, like boxing. I mean, being around Tyson was just mad. Some of the things I remember. I've divulged his story on Box Nation when he fought Danny Williams that night in Kentucky, when we had the electric storms the night of the fight. We just added to the whole drama. During the fight week, on the Tuesday of the fight week, he was on the pads with Freddie Roach in this outdoor shopping mall in Louisville, and he looked like he was a man possessed. He was scary. This guy was scary. There's something wasn't right with him, and you thought, what is this guy going to do to Danny? He just looked a nasty, angry man. 2 days later, I think it was the day, I can't remember, it was the next night, or the following afternoon, or following the Wednesday afternoon, or the Thursday afternoon. I can't quite recall when it was, and Tyson agreed to see the British press at his hotel suite. So about 7 or 8 of us rocked up to this hotel suite, and there's Tyson, and in the corner of his hotel room, when we walked in, there's this little old man sitting in a rocking chair, or it looked like a little old man, and it was Tyson, a different man to the day before, just slumped almost. Obviously, I'm guessing, and I'll say this, he was on some sort of medication to bring him down, because of the things he might be capable of doing, and getting disqualified and attacking someone. You've got a guy. That guy was being forced in the ring when he was mentally ill, in my opinion, by people. And he was just, after half an hour, he wasn't coming out. He was very polite, but it was all yes, no's. And after half an hour, his eyes were suddenly, his head rose, and his eyes sort of lit up, and he said, "You guys are from England." He said, "I've got 6 birds in my bedroom from England." Now, we had no idea what he was on about. He said, "They're from Birmingham." So he takes us around, he stands up and leads us through to this other room, this bedroom where he's sleeping in, and there's 6 pigeons flying around the room, bird shit everywhere a lot. And they're Birmingham roller pigeons, and that was what got him illuminated. And Noel Hickman from the Express, I nudged him forward. He had little Instamatic cameras to get a picture. I pushed him forward. He fell towards the bed and was covered in all the bird shit. It was just madness, no sort of stories,
Yeah.
It's a hint of tragedy around it, and Tyson. But to witness that sort of stuff, even when stuff hasn't been going on in the ring, shows how lucky I've been to have been working in boxing for 30 years and been around these great people, and some not so great.
Absolutely, some characters in the sport of boxing. Delighted to have Steve Lillis here with us on this Sunday evening, everybody, at Steve Lillis over on Twitter. Just a couple more questions for you, Steve. Won't keep you too much longer. I was talking the other day with somebody about your beef with Jose Suleiman. Was that after the Michael Brody Injun Chi fight? What happened there?
I basically said it was hooky what had gone on. Mr. Suleiman never liked it. He lurched forward and went to throw a right hand. He missed by about 8 foot, and he knocked a bottle of water out.
And
Buncey's close to the family, and Buncey tells me I cannot go into Mexico because my name's on a list there. So there you go.
Did you not make it up with Jose later on, no?
No, I'm all right with Mauricio. No, I'm fine with Mauricio Sullivan, but I don't think he even knows about it. It's only people in this country who ever mention it to me. That incident with Jose Sullivan, or the late Jose Sullivan.
Absolutely. You mentioned Box Nation there as well. Great times when it was going on. Any experiences of working there?
Times, mate. Fantastic times. Apart from that, and the days on newspapers. As I said, just lucky times to have been around, and the 5-6 years, working at Box Nation, going around the world, working with people like Buncey, Barry Jones, the producer Jim Bentley there. Everyone who worked there, from the runners upwards, was absolutely fantastic times.
One of the guys is asking you a final question there, Steve. Andy's saying, how did you manage to get through those shifts at Box Nation in the early hours of the morning?
You know what? When it first started, it was really, really hard. You was like, oh, God, matchstick through the eyes job. And let's be honest, some of the shows were like, oh, my God. There was one night we had shows that should have been a cracker's show. Like, it was a night. Was it the night? You'll have to check this. I haven't got a laptop with me or anything. There was one night we had 3 or 4 world title fights on, and I think it was the Winky Wright's last fight. And every fight, there was big names, and every fight was a stinker, and it was a struggle. That was the early days. But you know what? After a few months, your body clock gets in this way of working through the nights at weekends. And it become quite easy to go to watch Fulham play in the afternoon, go and have something to eat, have a kip for a few hours, and go off to Box Nation. So it become real easy in the end. But the first few months, when I wasn't adjusted to it, it was really, really tough. But you know what? I'm not moaning about it, because being paid to sit in a TV studio with Barry Jones and Steve Bunce and watch boxing, not bad, is it?
Absolutely. I've got it up here, Steve, for you. Winky Wright against Peter Quillen, bit of Leo Santa Cruz as well, Antonio Tarver, and Austin Trout against Delvin Rodriguez. What'd you say?
Who did Leo Santa Cruz beat that night?
Leo Santa Cruz beat Vusi Malinga.
That was it. That was the first fight on the show. That was the first fight on the card, yeah. That's right, yeah. That was right. He was expected to put
Leo Santa Snooze.
12 rounds, didn't he?
Leo Santa Snooze, the boys are saying here.
That's right, yeah. I like Leo Santa Cruz. Lovely man as well.
Absolutely brilliant stuff. Steve, not keep you any longer. Absolute pleasure having you on, especially during these barren times. Stay safe out there.
Anytime. Good luck to you all, boys, and keep up the good work while all this is going on. And let's see who you get out. You manage to wheel out next Sunday for the podcast.
Oh, we'll find somebody. Don't worry. Cheers, Steve.
Cheers, fellas.
All the best. Bye-bye now. Steve Lillis there. Steve Goodwin, Steve Wellings. All the Steves going on here, Andy, on a Sunday evening. I'm only the B-side.
Aye. So the other mate, I did see a recent picture of you. You've bulked up a fair bit actually as well. Boy, you did look like you were a prisoner standing beside Mr. Kinahan and whoever the other person was,
Andy, I think people can buy this picture if you want. It's on special. £10 if you want to see the new look Steve Wellings with a couple of high profile names, I think it's fair to say, isn't it, who he stood with.
You'll end up out in those fields if anybody sees that picture with rapping Rob Kelly. Rob's got the spade as we speak, ready to bury some bodies, Rob.
Rob's in the house.
How are you, Robert?
He's not allowed.
You alright? Just want to check he's alright here, check he's being safe. You okay, Rob?
Be safe.
Worried about him, Andy. Can anybody hear him?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you now, Rob, yeah.
Yeah. Just a couple of alright kids in that photo. Just stop giving them all that bad press, for fuck's sake. Speaking of Ted Bundy, by the way, I'm more like Al Bundy on the fucking lockdown, man. On the couch with my hand down my fucking pants, just fucking sprawled out. Like, I said I was going to do a bit of training.
That's a start dog, baby.
I said I was going to do a bit of training. Got up in the garden last week, did a few rounds of shadow boxing, bit of push-ups, bit of skipping. Little one came out then, wanted to play 3 and in, got the nutmeg. I am ashamed, but look, it was there. And since then I've been doing no training. I managed to find the only Chinese takeaway that was open in Wexford tonight that could have fucking survived in the Wuhan district by itself. So we've been watching a few fights. interesting. I don't know if we should jump to it. Did you see the fucking what the WBSS are doing with the fucking computer fights this week? Where they have like EA Fight Night running.
Tyson beats Ali. Did they stop him or something like that? No, he won on points.
He won on points. I just see fucking
dropped him twice.
Dropped him twice. I think Tyson's even said himself before that he'd have no chance against Ali. Like he would have, he was so relentless. He was just ferocious, relentless with that jab, just one after the other. I would never stand a chance. But fucking yeah. So evening to all the lads. Evening, Ed. How are you getting on? You all right, Eddie?
Hey Eddie, how you doing, mate?
You're locked up there in quarantine, probably checking in on the asylum. How
are
you doing?
Stop with Frankie Smith beating his meat.
Frankie says, hey, Frankie as well. You alright, Frankie, baby?
Wee Frankie hangs about the offices and gets bashed up by Eddie with the gloves on and that wee bit of sparring session.
I know, I saw that. That was that looked dangerous.
Frankie's going about doing the grassing these days, being a deep throat for Eddie. Evening, Eddie.
Evening, Ed.
Ringside.
Alright, pal.
How you doing, Ed?
But
Bad crowd here.
Hold on, I got a social distance. There's people coming up behind me.
Oh.
Having trouble with the social distancing as well. I went to the shop yesterday in the estate down the road. Like I would say they're the brightest packs and the best of times. But there was a woman who tried to come up the aisle in the bread aisle to wrestle me nearly to get a loaf of bread, ignoring the boundaries. I had to say to her, Mrs. 2 meters, like she's looking at me. I had visions of her ending up in the bread aisle, to be honest with you. But yeah, if they're not really adhering to the social distancing in the shop in Ferndale.
Were you ready to throw hands, Rob?
I was just ready to try. The elbow was there. It was coming. I'm not taking any chances. So yeah, no, I think like about the Tyson Ali thing. I've been watching some of the early Tyson fights as to pass the time or whatever. But it's hard to sell to younger listeners like the likes of Oz and Smith. I know Smith's been going back to them. Like it's hard for us to say how big Tyson was when he was big. I mean, you think Joshua was big now. You think Tyson Fury is big now. If Tyson had been around in the era of the internet, and the same goes for Ali, it would have been impossible to describe how big they were. Like even like Lillis said there, when he saw him kind of towards the end of his days when he wasn't what he was, and he's fighting like say Danny Williams, but even when he fought like Julian Williams and he came to England, the madness that followed him, the hysteria, it was like the Beatles were after coming to town or something. Like it was just
remember Brixton,
Scotland as well, Rivalries, yeah, Andy, yeah.
Aye, Brixton was fucking heaving.
Unbelievable bad performances and just doing crazy shit in the ring, acting a savage. And the Rivalries one is a prime example where he's punching him after the referee's trying to stop the fight and he throws the ref out of the way and everything. Just a loot. I think Lillis is right, like he was probably mentally ill at that stage, like being exploited, which was kind of sad watching back, but it was just, I remember at the time not liking that really, like, it was like, that was my childhood hero, and then to see him kind of like, it was just a circus everywhere he went, and you could tell he wasn't what he was, like. But watching some of the earlier fights, like, I think Atlas and everybody made a great point, is that and my dad said it at the time of Buster Douglas fight, he was within a fraction of, it's just, we talk about fight margins of boxing all the time, he was within a fraction of going down in the history books as being one of the great heavyweight champions, in that he would have overcome adversity and turned it around with a sensational knockout with Buster Douglas in the long count. It was just a fraction out, I don't buy the long count anyway. I think Buster was watching the count, but he almost had his moment, and from then on it was never the same. It was never the same. I know he regained the title and he had his fights with Razor Ruddock and everything, but even once he'd been exposed, fellas always fancied it. Bigger men always fancied it against him, and the air of invincibility was completely gone. And it was kind of, you were watching him thinking, he's going to chuck it, he's going to chuck. I remember watching him in real time thinking against Danny Williams and Kevin McBride and all that, he's going to give it up here. Like, he's not. They're going to break him.
Well, he was 1.5 round fighter, wasn't he? I mean, I was watching the Kevin McBride fight the other day, and to think he lost to a guy like McBride, no disrespect to him. I mean, and he was trying to break his arm and all, but he didn't headbutt him and. Yeah,
he did that with Francis Bourtois as well, didn't he? Famously
tried to break Bourtois' arm. That's right. Yeah.
In the clinch, he just got it and twisted it, because Bourtois was having his way with him at that stage until he turned it around and hit him with the 1-2. Like, so
that was the best and the worst of Tyson in that Bourtois fight, wasn't it?
the Nielsen fight as well. Do you remember the Nielsen fight over when he was?
Oh,
it was that
Denmark,
sad kind of tour he was on, like coming to the UK, coming to Denmark. You know, Clifford Etienne was probably his last shades of what he looked like he might have been. You know, I think that was his last win. Even the when he knocked out Clifford Etienne, who was in abominable shape
with a broken back
too. My back was broken, spinal. So yeah, I've just been watching a bit of Tyson and trying to keep ticking over, watching old fights and that. But I think, well, I mean, we might as well go around and see. Like, but I think everybody would agree Ali would have beaten Tyson, like prime for prime.
Oh yeah.
You know, it would have been an easy fight for him, I think.
Yeah, no, Rob's right. Going into that Buster Douglas fight.
Ali was a dancer on about him in his prime, by the way. I mean, Tyson
frustrated him, wouldn't he?
Yeah, but see, Tyson had good foot movement, but that was to get into distance or work angles. If fucking, as Rob says, he's got a good jab. If Ali was dancing on his feet, jab, pop, right hand, that he'd do that all night long, tie you up, just frustrate you. Tyson would have no answers to it. Maybe work the body and that, but you know, Ali was always proven to be absolutely cast iron. Wouldn't have wilt for nobody until he actually went way over the hill.
Well, you think like that Foreman couldn't knock him out, Fraser couldn't knock him out, Ernie Shavers couldn't knock him out, Ken Norton couldn't knock him out, Liston couldn't knock him out. It'd be hard to see Tyson knocking out Ali. Like, you know what I mean? Absolutely. Even in Ali, if you take them prime for prime, say Cassius Clay era, and then come back after the 3-year layoff for both of them, both versions of Ali beat both versions of Tyson. Like.
Yeah, he was riding high, wasn't he, when he went into that Buster Douglas? I know that the sparring before the Buster Douglas fight was supposed to be bad and he wasn't looking great, but after he knocked out, wasn't it Carl Williams he beat before he went in with Douglas, Rob? And at that point he would have had all the titles. He would have been lineal off the back of Spinks as well, wouldn't he?
93 seconds. I think that was 2 seconds longer than Michael Spinks lasted. I think Randy Newman was refereeing that night, and Holyfield Dilson Rodriguez was the undercard, and they were lining up the Holyfield fight. And then Buster Douglas was going to be next or whatever, but I got the feeling at the time they didn't really fancy the Holyfield fight. Just with some of the noises that were made at the time, people thought that Holyfield was going to, you know, rightfully. It
was meant to happen before he went to prison, wasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, that was the path. Like it was supposed to be Buster Douglas and then Holyfield next. And obviously then that never played out. But like, yeah, you're making a good point about the preparation. I mean, his entourage were fully yes men. They had no ice bucket in the corner. Remember they're trying to get the swelling down with it.
It was Greg Page knocked him down, that's right, yeah.
In Spartan, that's who it was.
Yeah.
And shout out to Big Bruno as well, Rob.
Bruno
had him hurt in that first fight, I thought, you know, badly hurt.
Get in there, Frank.
Big
Harry
Frank,
famously said it. Left hook, he walked onto a left hook in the first round, and to be fair, I don't think Bruno knew how to finish him. He didn't have the killer instinct, like, didn't he not? He didn't know, he had him gone, like, for sure, but just couldn't follow up, like, and then took a beating for the rest of the fight. But Tyson, again, the wheels were after coming off. I think he might have been 18 months out at that stage, which was unusual for him because he was always active. I think he had troubles with Robin Givens and all around that time, big time promotional problems. There was stuff in the build up. Remember, he had I think that might have been around the time.
That time his mother-in-law got involved in that as well. The fight.
Mother-in-law,
Blood Green, yeah. And Don King and Bill Caton were fighting over his contract, weren't they?
And the wife got him on some sort of tablets, and that was on some sort of kind of like not antidepressant, but some sort of suppressant that he was taking or something.
Yeah, and they stitched him up. Remember, they had that television interview. Mike is a violent psychopath, and he's just sitting there looking at him like, "Oh shit."
That's right.
But yeah, there was. I remember he wasn't as active, but I thought the signs were there in the Bruno fight. I would have expected him, you know, the version that beat Larry Holmes, that beat Tyrell Biggs, to take care of Bruno even more emphatically. But I didn't think he struggled. Like he clearly dominated the fight, and Bruno was in survival mode, but he just didn't look as sharp as he was. But that run that he had, say Trevor Berbick, don't forget Bone Crusher Smith, that Tony Tucker gave him a fight too, took him the distance. Although both of them were very negative and they held him a lot, he couldn't significantly damage them. But like, if you look at the Trevor Berbick, the Pinklin Thomas, the Tyrell Biggs, Larry Holmes, obviously Larry Holmes is a shell of himself. Like, Tyson's career I wouldn't say he's a myth, but he hasn't got any real killers, I'd say, on his resume. Berbick was a good win, brilliant win for the time, and Bone Crusher Smith and Tony Tucker were both good for Tony Tubbs knockout. But Tony Tubbs was fucking like Andy Ruiz, wasn't he, over in Tokyo?
Yeah, that's
Tokyo. True. He was in awful shape, like absolutely awful shape. So yeah, Michael Spinks, he was a light heavyweight guy who was petrified of Tyson, like absolutely petrified. Lost the fight before the first bell. That one, like I remember. Do you remember Butch Lewis, rest in peace, famously said that he went to the dressing room to try and shake Tyson before the Spinks fight and try and intimidate him, and he was punching holes in the wall. He said he's fucking turned around and walked out. So.
Reminiscing on a Sunday evening, we lost Dave the Hotel back unfortunately, but Rob's still with us, so is Andy, so is Ozzie Smith. We've had a couple of guests already if you're only joining us, partway through episode 366. Steve Lillis has been with us and so has Steve Goodwin. Let's get stuck into the questions. It's 9:10 already, we've got Belly of the Weeks coming up as well, delivering the content for you on these Sunday evenings everybody. I was going to ask this to Dave, I'll ask it to you instead, Ozzie from Zeconomics. He said, which fighters did you suspect were hype jobs even before they got found out? David Price for me, says Zico. Always felt he was ponderous and hittable, even when on an early KO run.
Yeah, Price is a good show. Was built up as this destructive puncher. I think if you rewind the clock, a lot of people were tipping him to basically just batter Tyson Fury. I mean, how laughable does that look now? You know, like where they are in the two careers. Hype job that turned out to be absolute nothing.
But someone you suspected, Ozzie, would be a hype job even when people were building them up?
Oh, even when people were... let me have a think of that. Open it up and I'll have a think to see if I can think of anybody in particular that went on to do absolutely nothing or massively underachieve. When people were bigging him up to be. I mean, you wouldn't put someone like Frankie Gavin in that bracket, really, would you? I mean, he was hyped to be, like one of the, like a potential world champion and things like that. And in reality, but was it hype? He still had a decent career, but was that more underachieving rather than not living up to the hype?
Yes, that's a good point.
It's difficult. Really. A good one in the chat, O'Hara Davis.
Yeah.
A lot of people were tipping him to knock out Josh Taylor.
I'll give you one. This will fucking piss off Swiddle big style though, but about Lucien Booty. Because remember, he ducked that Super 6 tournament, and plus if you look at his reign of terror as IBF champ, Jesse Brinkley washed Edison Miranda, washed William Joppy. The two fights, the first fight against Andrade, he got his ass
disgrace.
Saved, big style.
Yeah, well, by the late Marlon B. Wright, wasn't he?
Yeah. Fucking literally carried. It was like Terry O'Connor carrying Nathan Cleverly back to the corner against fucking.
He kept on bollocking him in the corner, didn't he, to stay in the corner while he was giving Butte all those extra seconds. 10,
it was 10 times worse. That was major corruption. So much the fact is they actually get a rematch sorted out. So the rematch left. It was emphatic. And he beat Brian McGee, so much so he actually fucking and they beat John Paul Mendy, Glenn Johnson, who again was another washed up fighter, Denis Grachev. Then he's
John
fucking
Paul
then he fights.
Friggin' hell, there's a name from the past.
Aye.
All about him.
And he fights Carl Froch and gets iced. In fact, he didn't get iced. He got dominated. Then he got iced, and he looked like he didn't even belong. He looked like he didn't even belong in there at that level. You think about it, a guy who had something like 7, 8 title defences at that point.
Froch nearly killed him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Man.
They tried to use an excuse after that as well, didn't they? They said he had a giant blister on the sole of his foot, and they showed photos of it and all, and it was infected and all that, like in the week, and this kind of carry on. They were trying to say that he got caught cold because he was worried about his foot.
I'm going to throw in a current one.
He was the most protected fucking fighter of all time before he fought Froch, really, wasn't he? Like,
he made a lot of money, didn't he? I'm going to throw in another one, which hasn't come to fruition yet, but I think Josh Kelly is not going to be anywhere near as good as what a lot of people are projecting.
Yeah. Can I say Brunner, even though he's a 4-weight title holder? Can I say Brunner still?
I was going to say, I was on fucking Mauro Ranallo's podcast years ago before I was even on this one. And he had just fought Malignaggi for the welterweight title, and he was asking me, and I was just like, this guy is a flat-footed plotter. He's not going to cut it at 47, absolute no chance. Like, the next fight with Dana proved that. Like, he's just, and ever since his career has been fucking in downward spiral, hasn't it? Like,
what's he like?
I don't even know if it's one of those things where he had the talent I mean, he had some level of talent. At 35, he was brilliant, but I don't think he was ever had the exciting style. You know, he can punch a little bit. His defense has never been great. His feet are fucking awful. I never really saw what people were seeing, other than the dominant wins at lightweight. Like when he's kind of weight bullying guys, like just that performance against Malignaggi. I remember, like, there was nothing in that fight. Like, Paulie can't punch, and he was kind of doing what he wanted with him in spells, and I was just like, this fucking fella's not going to be a kid for the next flight.
You could have argued Robbie lost to Daniel Ponce de Leon at Super Bantam.
Definitely.
We'll put Anthony Fowler in there as well, please.
Talking of careers going into a downward spiral, Rob, you were on Mauro Ranallo's podcast, and now you stuck with us.
Yeah, I tried to get Mauro for us. Seemed like he was biting at the time, but maybe he listened and then decided against it. You know what I mean? We have a lot of listeners. All right, Ed.
Evening, Eddie.
What about Conor Benn?
Yeah.
Got the dad's name. Admittedly was signed because it was his dad, and now people are talking about this, you know, like from his side, this destructive knockout artist, which, you know, is going to go and destroy the welterweight world. Yeah, fights puddings every time he enters.
Top 10 WBA fucking contender.
Exactly.
6 or something.
Another one, and now it's difficult to say because he has achieved a lot already, including winning the Ring Magazine belt. But I still put Callum Smith up there. I still say he's been protected to get where he has. Rarely impresses. I mean, yeah, bashed about Hassan and Dan, but when you look at his career and stuff...
Who's he fought? Who's he ever fought?
That's what I mean, yeah. This is what I mean. His best win's George Groves, who was crocked with a bad shoulder. I mean, his World Boxing Super Series run was rubbish. Didn't have it all his own way with what's-his-face. Who was the Swede? Skoglund.
Skoglund, yeah.
And then he fought some fucking kickboxer in the semi-final and didn't get him out of there.
Mickey Holtzkin, who's a top kickboxer who's now getting handled in ONE FC, so he's washed as well.
Yeah, so it's weird because naturally he's a world champion and things like that, but I think he's had a very comfortable route to where he's got. Still lacks those big fights massively, and I've always said that I don't give him the hype as to what some people may think he is. One that I wouldn't say is necessarily thingy, but people always had this recently as well, the hype and, you know, like the overachieving about Spike O'Sullivan, that he was this huge puncher, and he was knock out Eubank, and then anyone he gets in the ring can't take his shots, and he was going to destroy Lemieux. Well, he got his arse handed to him by Lemieux. What was it, in about 70 seconds, something like that. But again,
he did well up to that, though, as one of our listeners pointed out at the time. He was doing well up until.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That was a
Vinny,
value for week, wasn't it?
Just for good measure.
Oh, Vinny, yeah. I think Anthony Fowler's a good shout, isn't it? Because he was getting a lot of hype in different areas. People saying, put your money on him getting an Olympic gold medal and all this type of stuff. And I think he's the perfect one. Mick Conlon as well has been thrown in the chat. Yeah, and Arlene Burley says Michael Grant. That's a good one, Michael Grant.
AJ, baby. I mean, nobody's had a bigger fucking hype build up than Anthony Joshua. I mean, if his talent matched the hype that he's got, he'd be some fighter. But unfortunately, it doesn't for me.
Tommy Morrison.
Right, let's move on. Rob, one for you from Nathan Shaw coming in here. He said, top fights with genuine hatred between the two boxers, like Ben versus Eubank or Barrera versus Morales. Also, Nathan says, keep up the good work in these barren times. So, genuine hatred. I'm going to throw one in here, Rob. I think there was a genuine hatred between Vasily Girov and James Toney. Like, they weren't touching gloves even after spending... You know the way fighters usually spend 12 rounds battering each other, and it's all forgotten. They hated each other.
Yeah, I think that was obviously Tony obviously made himself the underdog, and that's how he motivated himself and everything, and he's going to be giving it to whoever he's fighting with the verbals and all that. But I think he took exception to they were building Girov up as the amateur with the supreme technical ability against Tony, and he really he detested that, like, and he showed it in the fight. I mean, J-Rock fucking hung in there, man. Jesus Christ, he gave a great account of himself. He
never stopped.
He took so much punishment. Yeah, he never stopped going, even though he was getting shellacking in certain rounds. Like, and it made it a good fight. But that was a fantastic fight to watch, regardless of whether they didn't like each other or not. I'd say Vargas and Mayorga was a good one. I think Vargas really fucking didn't like Mayorga. I think Vargas and De La Hoya is another one where they definitely didn't like each other. Floyd, De La Hoya, some genuine animosity between the two of them, I think that's fair to say. Ben Eubank, obviously, I mean, Jesus Christ, I never saw anybody. That was kind of the first time I saw in real time somebody get into somebody's head so badly. Like, Ben wanted to fight him at the signing of the contract on TV. He wanted to fight him at different stages throughout the press build-up, and kind of played into his hands, didn't he? Like, but so I think there was genuine animosity between the two of those. I'm trying to think. There's a couple of other grudge matches over the years.
Here's one in the chat for you. Kaiser Cobra says, "Don't forget how much David Hay and Tony Bellew hated each other. Genuine beef there."
Oh, that was tangible. The hatred between the two lads, absolutely tangible. You could feel it.
Still wants to fight him.
David Hay just happened to have a microphone ringside after his win against BJ Flores to set up a spiteful grudge match. Fucking Chisora and him, I suppose, had a genuine dislike for each other, so much to have be separated, like Hannibal Lecter.
I was going to mention
the press conference.
Bellew cleverly won.
Let's do it right now, then, you fucking rats.
I was just about to say, genuine hate. I'm trying to think. Would you say White Joshua? Did White really hate Joshua, as in, like, fuming, or was he just more calling him out?
I think they disliked each other for sure, didn't they? Like, from the amateurs and all that. Like, Frotch and Groves, man.
Oh, great shout, yeah.
Yeah.
Groves de Gill.
Oh, yeah,
another one.
Groves de Gill, without a doubt, yeah. I still don't think
boys in the chat here, Ozzie, are sending some in. Leonard versus Duran, says Swaggy Taggy. MB says, remember when Wadi Camacho was photoshopping Steven Simmons' head onto stuff on Twitter? Simo was raging.
See, the Duran Leonard one, actually, that was only one way for a bit, right at the very beginning, because Duran fucking hated him. He hated the fact that Leonard got all the plaudits, got the big money early doors in his career, whilst he and people like Hagler had to fucking graft for the bottom up. So that's the reason why he hated Leonard. That's why he wanted to pit it on him in that first fight. But it kind of became a rivalry. They hated each other, especially after how Duran acted towards his wife afterwards and that as well. Because there was a moment they actually did a Pepsi commercial together with their two kids, two of their sons and that were there, and Leonard didn't want to do it because he thought that Duran would be an arsehole. But with the laddies being there and that, he was a perfect gentleman and all that sort of stuff. So it's a kind of love-hate relationship with they two, I think.
And then he helped him out later on, Leonard, didn't he? And with giving him the third fight, the rubber match. So, like, I think Duran needed the few quid at the time, didn't he? So he was happy to take it, even though he was out of shape at that stage. Like.
Fitzgerald says Hay versus Klitschko. Sorry, Ozzie, go ahead.
Hagler, Leonard as well. Hagler definitely did not like Leonard. Leonard played him for a fool with that press conference announcement and everything. Like, it made him wait years for the fight and all that. Hagler definitely did not like Leonard.
Go on, Oz.
One from the chat was Fitzgerald Fowler, which was more recent.
Ali Frazier, yeah, that's a good one. Malinaji Broner says take aims. I know Klitschko hated Hay for that head cutting off t-shirt, didn't he? And then he got his own back later on with the pictures of the toe and all that when he done that silent PowerPoint. Right, let's move on then, Andy. One coming for you from Swaggy Taggy. He says, following on from the brief chat on Sunday's pod about a Ray Robinson biopic, I'd like to ask you guys what boxer they would most like to see a biopic made about, and who do you think should play the leading role? Swaggy Taggy says, I'd like to see a Sonny Liston film with big Idris Elba playing Sonny, if he survives the corona.
Yeah. Well, I don't know really about actors as such, because obviously, as I mentioned, Carlos Monzon won last week, and that obviously, I mean, it only works for me if you're going to play like a guy like Monzon that's played by someone who can speak Spanish. So I didn't even know who the actor is in that, but I thought he played it pretty well. But I like to see something along for Edwin Valero. I don't know who we play him, mind you.
Oh yeah,
that's just an absolute.
Oh yeah, what's that? Yeah,
Edwin Valero, I'd watch that. I'd be interested potentially on something maybe like on Zuma Nelson, just because he's the greatest fighter to come out of Africa, and I don't think he really gets. Well, I get his props from about certain circles and that, but you know, globally, I don't think he's as well known. Try to think about a British fighter.
Michael Gomez would be a good story, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Hellraiser.
They made that. They made that
Did
film.
they?
They made the Gomez film and they couldn't finish it. I think, like, because there's a trailer of it on YouTube, and it's a couple of the kids out of Emmerdale are playing him and his family and that, like. And it looked actually good, man. It looked really good. I remember trying to reach out to them years ago because if they were doing the soundtrack, I wanted to kind of see if I could get a song on there, like. So I don't know what happened with it. It never came out, but it looks good. Like, it looked like it was good. It was going to be a good movie. It was shot well and everything.
There is one on Valero actually kicking about, and I've seen the trailer on, is it Vimeo, I think it's called, but I have never seen it available for download or to buy or to watch on Netflix or anything like that.
They might get the money to get him over the line for the release, you know, that way.
What about Ike Iabuchi? That'd be a fucking good one to make.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one, wouldn't it?
That'd be an absolute fucking mental case to make.
Jane Couch, you could see like your woman Sheridan Smith or something playing her.
Yeah.
Can we get Jane Couch too as well? This time it's personal.
I like Jane.
Me and my dad were actually chatting about this tonight. There's been a Jack Johnson biopic, but they never really done him justice. Like, it'd be nice to see him get the treatment. Jack Johnson would be an amazing story. Biopics for fighters, though, they don't always work. Like, and especially if you've got, like, you know, a kind of a fucking, you know, some kind of nostalgia towards a certain fighter. Like their Duran biopic, I had to turn it off.
Shit.
It was fucking abysmal. De Niro's doing any old shite for the last 20 years, like, and this fucking guy playing Duran and Usher's playing Ray Leonard and all that. Oh, it was fucking horrendous, man. Some Disney Plus shit. Like, if they don't do it justice, there's no point. Like, you know what I mean?
That was shit, man. I mean, I've never came out a film and people are like, well, you know, that's just because I can't mind the ending of it again and that, but it's they missed out the fucking best parts of it all. I mean, a Duran film could be split into fucking 3 or 4 different films. You could, but obviously it doesn't make as much interest as that, I would imagine. But fucking hell,
but like,
missed out the best parts of his career.
The fucking Mickey Ward biopic leaves out the guy he fights.
Yeah, that's
it ends with a beating Shane Harry.
You've got Matt Wahlberg looking like a fucking super middleweight when fucking Mickey Ward's a light welterweight, for fuck's sake.
Say hi to your mother for me. He's the fucking same and everything, isn't he, Wahlberg? I thought actually he probably, because Mickey Ward is generally kind of quiet anyway, so I doubt he got unfair stick for his performance. And obviously Christian Bale was brilliant as Dickie Eklund. Like, actually, there's a good one for you if you want to go down a rabbit hole. You know the scene in that movie where Dickie Eklund is getting followed around, and it's actually a documentary about, you know, they think they're talking about him making his comeback, and it's actually that film is actually there on YouTube to watch, the original one with the real Dickie Eklund. That's worth to watch. Like, that's an eye opener for sure. Like, but you know, rarely do biopics. I mean, obviously Raging Bull is probably the greatest boxing film ever. Like, then you've got your Rocky movies or whatever, but biopic wise, they don't always do a great job. Like, here's some obscure ones that you might not know of. Anyone ever see Ray Mancini's biopic?
Yeah.
Ray Boom Boom Mancini has a biopic. So I don't know what the fuck that means. Like, who if Ray Mancini is getting a biopic, no disrespect to him, so surely that means anyone's there. Like, who's next?
Well, just
Sam Peter.
Just as you mentioned Mancini, what about Kelly Pavlik's career? Because he came from the same area.
Same place, yeah.
Part of like, America's now been forgotten, all the factories are closed down and stuff, but Pavlik was that guy, dude, when he was in the gym coming up, he destroyed everybody, ran everybody out of the gym, by the way. You know, this big, tall, lanky, white guy is destroying all these talented black fighters now. They were like, who is this fucking guy? You know, so, you know, and then obviously his you know, apex in his career. You know, his prime, and then his fall for prime was pretty quick and pretty dramatic. You know, because he only lasted about another 2 years after he got beat.
Big time. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and was never the same after the Hopkins defeat. Like,
yeah.
He's on the bear too, though, Ozzie. That's going to do it.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean?
He's
on the lash.
Talking of being on the beer, the guys in the chat are saying Eamon McGee, and also my favourite fighter of all time, Matthew Saad Muhammad, picked up by nuns off the streets of Philadelphia. That would be one hell of a story.
Saad, absolutely, and up the raft for Eamon McGee as well.
Eamon on the fucking drinking a fucking got to the pub the night before fighting Ricky Hatton, still nearly fucking knocked him out, man. What a fucking absolute nut.
I met him doing in Manchester. It was
met him before.
Too many stories.
Serious character, isn't he? Like, serious guy.
Too many stories. Right, let's move on, boys. Let's see what else we've got. Going to give you all a heads up. One of the guys, Ted Barrett, has thrown in a question asking for 5 fights, Matchroom versus Queensbury, unlimited budget, can only have 1 fight per weight. So 5 Matchroom boxers versus 5 Queensbury boxers, unlimited budget, can only have 1 fight excuse me, per weight. You can have a think on that, Andy. I've got another question before we do. Let the lads get warmed up on that one. Before we do, Rob, I'll come to you on this next one from James Windsor. I have a feeling where you might go with this, but let's see what you come up with. James Windsor says, what fighter has been clearly robbed the most? Pernell Whitaker is up there for me, says James Windsor.
John Simpson.
Yeah, Whitaker's good shout. Ryder recently. Don't know really. That's after kind of catch me on the hop of that one. Who comes out with the bad decisions mostly? Like,
De La Hoya used to come off the back of it. I mean, obviously on a lower level, but
the Mosley one, yeah, you would say.
The Mosley moaned about Trinidad. He got one against Corte, I thought, which was genuine. A few people complained about that. He complained about Mayweather. Don't really think he's got much of a case there, but it was nip and tuck sometimes with Oscar.
Cotto was a bad loser, wasn't he? Used to fucking walk out the ring and all that. Like, yeah, but I don't know if he was...
The night he walked out against Margarito was delicious.
But I thought it was ridiculous when he stormed out of the ring after the Floyd fight. Like, I thought he gave Floyd a fight, but he didn't. I didn't think he won it, like, by any stretch. Like, I couldn't see an argument for him winning it. But that's not really.
Floyd a hell of a run those first 6 rounds. He got his tactics spot on those first 6 rounds against Floyd, didn't he?
Yeah, but he was using the De La Hoya blueprint, baby. He was backing him into the corner and throwing shots on the arms, and he was just keeping his hands moving when Floyd was in those positions. But once Floyd started to time him in the second half of the fight, he kind of took over. And there was rounds where Cotto appears to be landing, but, you know, like always with Floyd, you might appear to be landing, but you're already catching him clean, and judges are not counting that work and stuff. But it was he put in a good performance, but it was no way robbery. Like,
yeah, there was something I was going to say. Can't remember what it was now. Mustn't have been worth a shit, Andy. Let's move on to our next question then. The boys are talking about this Matchroom versus Queensbury, unlimited budget. Yeah, Yard versus Buatsi is the first one that comes to my mind, Andy. Anthony Yard against Joshua Buatsi.
Yeah, that would be the first one that came to my mind as well. I was thinking about heavyweights and stuff, but, you know, obviously Joshua and Fury, but I don't know if Fury's actually fully promoted by Frank. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, that's a fair one, I think, isn't it? Frank was standing there whenever Fury was doing the pictures with Wilder, so it goes.
Yeah. Queensbury. Is this the thing he was trying to remember who's all with who? Liam Williams. Who's Eubank with these days?
Demetrius Andrade. Eubank's PBC, I think, isn't he?
Right, so there you go. Williams Andrade. I'll take that one.
Sonny Edwards, that is.
Which one's that, Ozzie?
Sonny's a flyweight though, isn't he?
Superfly or fly. He's boxing at Superfly at the moment.
Sonny against who, sorry?
Yafai. I expect him to go to
Yafai, okay, sorry, yeah.
I was going to say Lee McGregor Farouk, but I think McGregor still be MTK, isn't he? So that's not going to work.
Dubois against White, says JJ.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah, might be decent.
Richards against Callum Johnson.
Zelfa Barrett against Callum Johnson.
Didn't know that.
No, it's 168.
Oh, right. Oh, sorry, Super middle. Yeah. Which one do you say, Andy, about Frampton? Sorry.
Frampton against Zelfa Barrett, because that one I just remember Barrett just went across recently. I was going to say about Callum Johnson and Yard.
Yeah.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah.
Liam Williams against Felix Cash. Sonny versus Charlie. There's one for you
Lewis,
for Call the Contradiction Fudge.
Lewis Ritson against Jack Cattrall.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cattrall will kill Ritson.
Fucking heck off at the minute, mate.
Harley Ben against Connor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beef.
I'm not going to say it. Battle for the housekeeping money.
The DNA belt. Connor's beard isn't going very well, is it? I think he's got rid of it.
He shaved it off. What a dick. It's amazing he can just go. I don't know how many thousands you got to dump on that shit, but clearly an investment well worth making in this financial climate, you know. Absolute spacker.
He's sponsored by Gillette now, Andy, instead of the British
The best the man can get.
Sam Bone against Jordan Gill. Sam Bone against Stephen Smith. Harley Ben getting a few lols in the chat. Yeah, any more Ozzie you can throw in? I think we got quite a few there.
Eddie Hearn against Frank Warren. Or Barry Hearn.
Frank would be a dirty fighter, I think.
Why?
Right, I think that'll do it for now. Okay, let's move on then. Rob, question for you coming in from...
Hi, Edward.
Question for you, Rob, coming in from John Heaton. He said, which fighter has gone on to have the craziest post-fight career?
Woohoo!
It's heating up now. The questions are, who's gone on to have the craziest post-fight career? I just read, said John, that Terry Marsh is now legally known as none of the above X, as a protest against the British voting system, having no option to put an X by none of the above. He was also the world chess boxing champion at the age of 56, so it sounds like Terry Marsh has gone completely off his rocker. Who's had the craziest post-fight career?
Well,
I suppose Yusuf Mack would be right up there, wouldn't he?
Traumatic happened.
Taylor
Maybe something
Goodjohn's
traumatic happened to fucking Terry Marsh in the past, and maybe that's affected his behaviour.
What could you think it could be, Rob? Do you want to have a shot in the dark?
I don't know, fucking grass, mate.
Shout out for Yusuf Mack.
We've talked about Tyson a lot, but like when you think
Tyson.
about it, that he's now has his own strain. Not just strain. He has massive stakes in marijuana farms in California called the Tyson Ranch, where he's actually opening up a marijuana themed, basically holiday park. Like we can go fucking glamping and smoke some stuff off the Tyson Ranch, and possibly meet Mike Tyson smoke a joint with him. I don't know, but that's his business, and obviously his podcast is one of the biggest in the world now. Like, so he's gone from the baddest man on the planet who bites lads' ear off to being a kind of a big, kind of cuddly lad who has a podcast and a marijuana farm. So it's fucking fair to say he has a bit of a mad life after boxing. Like.
Any others want to throw in, boys?
Tony Bellew. Tony Bellew, obviously, he wants to lay low.
Just
do his humanitarian work. It's silent. Yeah. If we ever find out what's happening. I tell you what, it's one of the only pluses of isolation, that is you don't have to see him opening up a fucking supermarket or something.
Right. That's why you've got Billy Joe Saunders for to keep us all occupied, you know.
What a fucking banger, Billy Joe. Holy fuck, I'm sure we get to that belly of the week anyway.
Certainly will. Shout out to Bobby Vanzi. I know I've mentioned him before, Andy. Old Bobby Vanzi gave up boxing because he became a Jehovah's Witness, and he started up a window cleaning business. So I mean, it's not really the great heights of Mike Tyson's marijuana farm, but there you go.
I'll tell you right now, Mr. Vanzi would be well in the know because he kens everybody's isolating, so he can groan about chapping doors and that, so he can get people, he can speak to God to them directly, you know. That was something that fought Dennis Andrews, was it not?
No, Bobby was down at lightweight. He fought Graham Earl.
Is it lightweight?
British.
Who am I thinking about?
Not sure.
Who am I thinking about? What's his name? Anyway, it doesn't matter. If you're a Jehovah's Witness at this time, this is going to be your peak season. Start chapping doors. You'll get thousands of people, millions of people sitting inside. Maybe 4 at a household. You never know. You could convert a whole fucking people before you know where they are. You know, just a thought. Just to take out my fucking door though.
Few tips.
I'll answer it naked.
The boys are sending them in the chat here. Jason says Evander Holyfield owns a betting company, Real Deal Bet. That's in line with his Christian beliefs, no doubt. JG. Arlene Burley says foreman, a preacher, and a grill salesman. King Clev on social media says Kaiser Koba. That's a good shout. Clev is fairly enjoying himself these days. Who else have we got? I think that's all of them for now. Yeah, Broner's off to a good start, says one of the boys. Let's move on. Ozzie, Joe Kennedy's jumping in with a question here. He said, is there potential for boxing to benefit from COVID? Once the current lockdown ends, test all the fighters. There's a bunch of fights that were already signed that can be made again easily. Test the fighters and the teams throughout the camp for a change. Stack the cards, put them on in a studio with a few hundred tested. Family and friends, create a bit of atmosphere, give it a bit of promotion. If you do that before the football comes back, you could charge whatever you like and people would buy it. Any ideas post-COVID-19, Ozzie?
No, I don't see it benefiting at all. We kind of discussed it before, and I echo the views of what Lillis and Goodwin said as well, that it's a sport that needs the audience, and it can't just be propped up on, TV money and things like that. And in a way, from where pay-per-views were booming, I think it's fair to say, I don't think they will be anymore. And I think they're going to be reliant more on ticket sales more than ever. And whilst you may be able to get fighters in and things like that, there's still going to be restrictions on flying people in and movement around different countries and things like that. I certainly don't think that's going to be as easy to do, and to bring people over or to get people over to America or someone like that. So no, I think it's a disaster, to be honest. And I agree. I think people will walk away. I think it may make fights more difficult to be made, because if they've agreed, say, a purse which was, say, for example, whatever, 5 million, but simply the fight just cannot generate that anymore due to the economy, tickets, pay-per-views, etc., things like that, Joe Blogs may think, well, I'm just going to wait, or I'm not going to bother, or go elsewhere and fight somebody else for less money but in a much easier fight. So no, I think it's going to be. I think it'll take 2 years for the sport to get back to where it was as a whole, from where the amount of shows that were happening, tickets, pay-per-views, etc., things like that. I think from how well boxing was doing recently, I think it's taken a major blow. Steve Lillis made a good point. It's still like a minority sport aside from a handful of the bigger names, so I think it's going to be extremely more difficult now to try and sell out arenas and things like that, and when we do see them, you're going to see like Terry Harper's at Doncaster Dome, where it's 1,500 people and you can probably fill that itself, but I don't think you're going to see the depth and the quality of the cards for a little while now, in my opinion.
I just wonder, is that going to force the hand more of Fury versus Joshua? Because surely they can get out of making this Wilder fight now. You know what I mean? Because I think it had to be made by July, and I'm sure they haven't got anything in the contracts covering COVID-19. So if it's not made by July, maybe they can go straight to Joshua with no ramifications for stripping the titles or whatever. Just a thought, but it'd be good for the sport if they can make that fight sooner than later.
Well, I said that, Rob, as well, to Steve Goodwin. Will this speed things up? And they might think these interim fights, we're going to have to get on with them. Maybe stick Spence in with a Garcia straight away, or a Pacquiao, or, Spence's a different case altogether. Regardless, we don't know what his injuries are about, but it might just speed things on up a little bit. Yeah, Rob agrees. I have a couple more questions.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
I just think, I think that all promoters there are going to have to chase the money more than ever. So to try and there'll be pressure on them to make the bigger fights straight away, rather than piss around with all this bullshit, like you said. We've already missed enough time. Let's get the show on the road, get the big fights made.
And on to Value of the Week shortly. We had a couple of questions coming from the boys. Dare's over at Turtle and Bear. Shout out to him. He often gives us good feedback. I'm going to save that for next week. Also, Smido threw something in which was pretty good, but I'm going to wait until he comes on. So before we go on to Value of the Weeks then, There are other podcasts going on at the moment. Anyone want to give a shout out to anything they've been listening to? I want to give a shout out to Cheap Seats. I think it's Angelo and somebody else. I know they're friends with the Boxing Rant as well. Whoever runs the Cheap Seats account always gives me DMs, little pats on the back, says he listens to The Asylum on iTunes, so shout out to him. I also listen to their podcast. Good stuff, those boys, keeping going during these bleak times. Anything you've been listening to, Andy? Any other podcasts? I've changed phones actually, and I've forgotten to reinstall Tris Dixon's podcast. I'm assuming that's still going.
Yeah, that's good, mate. I think he had Tony Sims and Colin McMillan on recently. Tony Sims is a really good listen to as well. I listen to the Boxing Rant almost weekly. Well, actually, I do weekly listen to them. Bunsen Costello. I listen to him from time to time when Bunsey can be reined in a wee bit, because sometimes I just think he goes off and fucking these whiny tangents with that fucking voice he puts on sometimes. I just wish he wouldn't be, as gregarious as he usually is, I listen to Ryan Scalli's podcast as well. I've seen one of their top prospects thereof, actually. Is it Ryan Rizicki? Or Ryan Rizicki, I think his name is. Got arrested
Rizicki, is he? Is it Will Rizicki, Andy?
No, Ryan. Ryan Rizicki.
Okay.
I think he's a light heavyweight. He got done for domestic violence or assault and stalking or something like that. Some serious shit he got done for, actually. Trying to think what else in the boxing sense. I think that's pretty much it, I think. I don't listen to kind of really any of the official ones anymore, because obviously they've got their own party line to kind of toe in that. I prefer guys who give their honest opinions and a bit of banter, nothing, fucking major like, but you know what I mean, a bit of laugh and talk about boxing and they kind of like veer off and a bit of kind of carry on and that type of thing, so that's the kind of people I listen to.
Yeah, I listen to the Boxing Rant as well. Cheap Seats, as I mentioned. Highfield as well, yeah. Terry, I listen to his podcast. I think that's very good. I haven't listened to the Ryan Scallier one. Next Big Pod, they're putting out podcasts as well. I think about 2 years ago was the last one, so shout out to them as well. Maybe Brian will come back again one of these days. He tweeted me or messaged me on Facebook, I think, saying that he might have to make a reappearance, but I haven't heard anything from him.
Who's that?
Fight Disciple, Brian King. I was wondering if he's. I haven't heard from Brian in a while, actually. I wondered if he's alright, if he's still living.
Is he even watching boxing anymore? I know he fucking hated the sport for a while,
I don't think so.
It's after fading into Bolivian.
Hi, the boys are saying in the chat, what about Spencer and Tunde's podcast? I saw them tweeting that out the other day, and it had 1 like, so things are going well for Spence over there.
Lions in the camp, baby.
Well, listeners ain't in the camp anyway, that's for sure.
I don't really listen to any boxing podcasts because most people don't know shit about boxing, and I just think we're better than all of them. So there's not really much point. If I want to listen to people talk to boxing, I just listen to you. Like, I don't really fucking listen to fucking Steve Kim or someone like this. You know what I mean? Yeah, some of them are good. There was a brilliant one, actually, what led me to find the Asylum in the first place. There was one called Boxing Straights. It was 2 American guys. One guy, Chris Strait, he's a stand-up comedian. He said he'd come on here someday. We should get him on. But he's a stand-up comic, obviously, and fucking just like straight to it with his analysis of the fights. Like, so that's kind of when they went off the air. I kind of was seeking out the truth and somehow found the Asylum, and then the rest is fucking history. Holy shit.
I remember listening to one ages ago, back when, do you remember when podcasts were awkward and weird and you had to download them and then upload them to like your iPod or whatever it was? There was one called Boxing Truth, and there were a couple of, I think it was Angelo was one of them, and I can't remember what the other fellow was called, but they were pretty good. They used to get Mike Marley, the old publicist, on, and I don't know whatever happened to them, but the Boxing Truth, they were good.
Did you ever listen to On the Grind Boxing with Paddy Cronin?
Yeah.
Fucking, that Shug Green was a mentalist.
I was on that. I was on it.
I was on it twice.
That was when I got to interview Hopkins. I got the interview B-Hop, man. I had him in the fucking palm of my hand. I told him about the never lose to a white boy. That's why he lost the fight and went down a big race rant, and his battery went dead in the middle of the fucking thing and it cut off. It was me, R.A. the Rugged Man, the rapper that did the boxing freestyle.
Yeah.
Paddy Cronin was after getting me, him, because he knew the two of us were B-Hop stands, so he got the two of us. So I was really nervous, man. It's on YouTube somewhere. I couldn't fucking. When I was talking to B-Hop, I was just fucking went to pieces. Like, I didn't. It'd be a lot different these days. Like, I had no experience of it or whatever. Like, and I was just like, kind of fucking. I don't know. I just bottled it like when it came to airtime. Like, and thank fuck his battery went dead. Like, because I had nothing. after that. So
I was on it.
But that was a good show. Like.
I was on it when the Floyd Manny fight got announced, and I was on it with Shug and Seattle Sime, who always had a lot of time for it because he always spoke a lot of sense. Sime, and him and Shug would just go at it all the time and stuff. It was really good shit, you know.
Yeah, it was mad obscure. I remember like they'd be fucking like Shug would be arguing with Paddy over like the likes of fucking Sam Sexton and all. I'm like, how the fuck does this guy know Sam Sexton is? Like, why is he watching Sam Sexton's fights all the way over in the States? Like, fucking hell, man.
It's
Shout
just
out
like
to Paddy Cronin, one of the good guys of boxing. I haven't seen Paddy for years. I used to go to fights with him.
Paddy's alright, man, yeah.
I
met him at loads of Oshim fights. He used to be always at Fagan's fights. Good lad,
Shug, man. Shug comes across a guy who always finds satisfaction hard to come by, you know. Even an orgasm would be fucking sound like a displeasure to him sometimes, you know. Oh, he was miserable as fuck, man. It was like... I don't know if
he was. Yeah, he's a dour character. No, I think he's similar. I'm friends with him still on Facebook again. He's a bit political and that, like, isn't he? He's all charged up about something. I don't know what side he's on, but
conspiracy theories and stuff. Yeah.
Well, who isn't? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Bit of Ike on a Sunday night.
He wasn't wrong. He got a lot of shit right, though, didn't he? It's fucking scary. Like, isn't it? It's like you're looking back and maybe they are lizards, Willings. What do you think? Could be. Like.
Press a like for Ike. Excuse me. On Queer Street, Shep's podcast. Shout out to that. Boxing Coalition as well. The boys. Cam is a good guy. Go and listen to them. I used to listen to New Age. Who else? We've got Boxing Voice. Steve Wellings is sounding salty. Never forget when they had you shivering, Wellings. What's he talking about?
Who's this?
Chuckwu's like a low grade troll.
He's a shit troll, like he is. He doesn't. It's like he remembers shit and he fucking forgets shit as well at the same time when he's fucking trying to spout shit. So it's just the PCP. Does that to fucking rots your brain.
LDBC. Shout out to Take Ames as well over on YouTube. Go and listen to Ames. He's a good guy doing some good stuff. Right, let's move on to Bellew of the Week, then, shall we? No nominations for you yet, Jason, but the night is still young. One could come in yet. Who knows? Might be a shoe-in. Who is going to win? Let's just get them up, shall we? Get it up on a Sunday evening. Shout out to O'Hara Davis, first nomination for him, episode 366, Bellew of the Weeks. We need to dedicate a day to coronavirus every year from now on, like Happy Corona Holidays, says O'Hara Davis. Billy Nelson. Oh, hang on, these are last week's, aren't they? Talking about a nuclear weapon. Sorry, everybody, I think I'm on last week. I haven't deleted the old ones yet.
Deja vu there.
Nomination to Dominic Henry is nominating Carl Froch for calling Gennady Golovkin a wet lettuce when talking about their fight that never happened on Boxing News Online. Joseph Ajayo, THD, PhD, has been nominated. Joseph says, let me be theologically biblical here about China and coronavirus. Communist China government do not know God. That is why their old men are having sexual intercourse with chickens. and they disregard Levitical laws and regulations about food. The consequence is coronavirus.
Oh, listen.
Dig out those chickens.
Steve,
so we can all go back outside.
We've got the Jason Chuckwu nomination. Apparently, according to him, MVP had us shivering because they had us on the ropes at one point.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay, fair enough.
He's down with MVP.
Aye.
Oh dear. Yeah, nomination for Chuckwu and for Dr. Joseph Ajayo, PhD, THD, for a good one there. El Paul Pavlovich has been nominated by Kaiser Koba, giving his top Mexican boxers of all time. Number 4, Marquez. Number 3, Julio Chavez. Number 2, Canelo. And number 1, naturally, Oscar De La Hoya. I'm sure that's a list shared by many. El Paulovich. Terry Woodfine has nominated Talwar. White would destroy Wilder, absolutely no doubt about it. The reason Wilder dodged him for so long. Tyler Goodjohn, Andy. He's one who's been up to plenty in his post-retirement, taking my frustration of not fighting on April the 4th in BKB out on Alessa Savage. She's really getting the brunt of a primed and ready fighting machine at the moment. Check out how we are self-isolating.
he was tanning the arse off her, by the way. Fucking hell, man. Oh my god. I think she even made a wee appearance in the fake Taxi Driver as well. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it was.
He thinks, says Andy. Oh, I think it might be her. Yeah, he's like, that's all right, fucking you were.
I did see somebody respond actually and stuff, but he says to Tyler Goodjohn, he says, "There's no fucking way, mate, is your dick touched no size." Fucking hell.
I wonder would his defence to that be like all other fighters? Well, if you didn't do it in front of the camera, then you can't say nothing about it. I don't know.
7 years at the fucking Paul Smith and he see his cock, he wouldn't know where to put it. He'd be fumbling about like fucking Steve, what's he doing? The blind cunt. He come.
Wellings.
Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder. Trying to find the hole, you know. He couldn't really fucking see it.
Grab him by the wrist.
He's too busy going in on that fat fuck McFadden. Oh dear. Next nomination, Dominic Henry, even friend of the pod, is nominating Johnny Nelson, talking on Sky Sports. You might be shocked by this, everybody, but just bear with me. Johnny Nelson says, if you look at it on paper, you have to say the world #1 heavyweight is Anthony Joshua when you're talking about belts. You know, Johnny's spoken, everybody. Johnny's spoken.
Yeah, it's all about the belts.
Has to be Joshua. IBO. He's got the IBO, hasn't he?
Yeah. You give that a lot of credence, you wanker.
Absolutely. Team IBO.
One of the big five. Aye.
One of the big five. Big six, Andy. WBU. Which version are you talking about, though? There's a split in the WBO ranks.
There's a break in the lineage somewhere, in it. It's come out the flames like a phoenix, so that's the only thing.
There's the Dom Moose Lewis version and the German version fighting around each other. Chukwu's still going on about MVP for some reason. He's obsessed.
Fucking hell, man.
TMG, watching an old Scott Quay interview recently, he said if Joe Gallagher told him to jump off a bridge, he would. Can't be a Belly of the Week, says TMG, but deserves a special mention, I think. Yeah, I think it's a Belly of the Week, why not? Might as well throw it in. Declan Graffin has said, Martin Bacoli, Belly of the Week, don't think I need to elaborate. Well, I haven't actually seen this, thankfully. A few of the boys are saying in here...
I know what he did.
What did he do?
The idiot has uploaded a video onto his own Twitter account of some grown man abusing like a toddler, like 4 or 5, with a load of angry faces. Obviously, you know, like showing his disgust at it, but then has naturally quickly deleted it when people are saying like, look, what the fuck are you playing at?
What's happened? Like, is the kid getting like physically abused or fucking sexually abused or what?
Well, I didn't see the video, but sexually abused apparently.
Oh, for fuck's sake, man.
I don't know how true that is, but it wasn't great. So he's then put out an apology, but then deleted that seconds after as well. But honestly, what goes through your mind to think, one, when you get that video, you get rid of it immediately, and why the fuck are people sending it on in the first place? And two, what has gone through his head thinking, I'll upload this to my Twitter profile with a load of angry faces and see how that goes. I mean, he's an idiot. He's a fucking clown, and look, naturally fucking disagrees with it, but fuck me. Don't put it on a social media platform. It's an absolute disgusting... He could go to prison for that.
Someone's saying he was a JG, saying it's like the worst of the worst.
I didn't see it. I have no idea. I came on yesterday and just saw, like, basically people talking about Bacoli and things like that. I don't know how true it was. But, fuck me, it's not been a great week for Eduardo's fighters.
Evening, Eddie.
Social media disaster, but I tell you, he could go to prison for that, Bacoli. If he was, if people screenshotted that, if you're caught in possession of videos like that, regardless of whether you've just been, even if you've been sent it, it's still in an act.
Sounds like he's made a bad mistake, doesn't it? Like the big lad's made a bad mistake, hasn't he? I think
it's a fucking enforced mistake though as well. He was in complete control of this. I mean, I just don't get why you'd think of doing that whatsoever.
Alright. Graham Taylor 5 has nominated Joseph again. He's been off on one this week. Big Shaq has been calling out Joseph for Jo. And Joseph responds to him with a picture of himself in the car. You asked me why I was in my car. Concisely, I told you that I took the picture before coronavirus. You came again to attack my person and education. Let me make this clear to you, says Joseph. I never back down in my life when it comes to a fight. Okay, bring it to me. Let's do it. So Joseph is on Twitter calling people out for scraps. Nobody wants that heat. Not at all.
Who next?
Who next? Who next indeed? Danny Robson has nominated TJ Dehaney. Will O'Callaghan said, just a blip on the road, TJ, as long as the performance is right in the next few fights. And TJ says, cheers lads, many of the top tier greats bounced back from a shock upset loss to move on to bigger and better things. The likes of Alexis Arguello, Arturo Gatti, Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Robinson and Terry Norris, just to name a few. Watch me do the same. Danny's nominated the poor fella for Bellew of the Week.
Jesus Christ.
Alexis does
well.
Some
good company all the same, TJ.
Go on, Andy.
No, it's okay, mate.
JS Park 10 has nominated Floyd. Marco Villegas tweets out, Floyd Mayweather is giving out tax advice right now, saying there's no law that says you have to pay taxes. Well, Floyd would certainly know about that. Trade and Leather Boxing has nominated Conor Benn. He's had a beard transplant, still can't grow one, and now he's completely Wilkinson sworded, his entire head and face. He looks like a cue ball. Ali Palikia has nominated Tyler Goodjohn. His descent into OnlyFans porn is remarkable. Well, you know, you've got to pay the bills. Trade and Leather Boxing has nominated Tony Bellew. Bellew tweeted out thoughts with Aaron at the Bugsy Malone and his missus and family right now. Trade and Leather Boxing says speeding and breaking the lockdown is fine as long as it's one of his mates. Not really sure about that one, what's going on. And they are all the ones I've got, apart from the final one, Andy, which I'm sure you will be delighted to throw in. It's the latest of a litany of crimes from this fella, Billy Joe Saunders. It can't... I mean, people say it's a joke and whatever, and I'm all about free speech and everything, but he's building up a little rap sheet now, isn't he, Saunders? You can't keep doing this mad shit as private as it was meant to be, then go out and throw a few toilet rolls into a hospital somewhere in a PR offensive. People are going to jump on this. We've seen this before. We've said it before. Tyson Fury, whoever it is, you say things in the press, they're going to jump on you, and Saunders is just time and time again. It's going to affect his career prospects going forward, and big fights, I think.
That's 2 apologies this week he said he'd been forced to make. Now the one that he did yesterday with the domestic violence thing and stuff, I'm no pissed off about it because I kind of took it as a bit kind of tongue in cheek, but you can see why people are fucking taking offence to it. This is just the culture we live in these days. That aside, the one with the mate getting called off the plane in America, that was bad, man. I mean, I'm not one to fucking say, look, oh, we've all done stupid things. We've done stupid things. We've phoned mates pretending to do this and that, but there's people dying all over the world, right? And you phone an American airline, or your mate is trying to go on a plane from America back to the UK, right? They Yanks do not fuck about. They do not fuck about, especially when it comes to airlines and shit like this, right? And to have your mates tell you to get rid of the fucking telephone that you use to fucking call the airline, that alone tells you the fucking story that you're fucking facing here. Now, that apology came out okay, good and well, you apologise and stuff, but then you've got the instances with the old guy in the street. You've got the situation with pretending to be a copper, which is a criminal offence, by the way, to then have a guy strip search himself in the middle of a fucking motorway. There's other situations in that as well. You know, just you're 32 years of age or something like that. Can't just grow the fuck up. Okay,
just shut the fuck up.
Well, like a bit of banter.
That's all he has to do. All he has to do is shut the fuck up.
And there's moments when he's actually quite funny to listen to, but he makes it incredibly difficult to support him because he comes out with some inane, stupid, childish fucking pish that he's fucking forced to defend himself. And I'm sorry, look, I understand he does a lot of help or charity work for kids and stuff, or what I've been told. But then he's had to go away and fucking film himself doing stuff for the NHS at the weekend doing some sort of PR offensive, right? Just stop.
And he's having a fucking absolute nightmare this week. And you're right, like he's like a fucking overgrown child.
He's been forced to delete his Twitter account as well, and he's also even backed up Daniel Kinahan saying he's a fucking good guy.
He's on Coogan this week doing a Skype or whatever, right? And the first words out of his mouth, like 7 seconds into the interview, he's like talking about masturbation. You're like, man, you're fucking 32, man. Relax, like, would you? We all like a joke and all, but he's always talking about brasses and fucking. He can't go through an interview with a male or female without talking about prostitutes or fucking he's fucking. No one's not hear that shit, man. Just fucking. Do you know what I mean? All he has to do is shut the fuck up. I said a couple of years ago on the pod, he's becoming in danger of being more famous for the stupid shit that he says outside the ring than what he's doing in the ring. And what's he done since beating Lemieux? And that's it. And this shit, when he's defending Kinahan and all, you don't see the brain operations he pays for. All right, pal. All right, man. Shut up, like, will you? And then he's going after that whistleblower account and everything on Twitter. What the fuck is he doing? Like, all he has to do is go and train and shut the fuck up. Surely Eddie can fucking say that to him, even Ed. Surely Eddie can fucking get him aside and say, Billy Joe, shut up, man, will you? And just go and train.
Yeah. The one thing it is as well, it's all self-inflicted. It's not as if, you've got reporters digging into his past and things like that, trying to tarnish him. It's week after week. It is all self-inflicted, and he just doesn't learn whatsoever. He never learns. I mean, when he got fucked off making the homeless guy do like a sexual act with somebody and things like that, you think he would have learned then. He was fined. He was threatened with the police, not that he really cares. The promoters got hold of him and things like that. And he just doesn't. And as I say, and then it was typical. How convenient that he was doing his NHS drop-off. That just the day after, he's had to issue another apology. And I get the video was, tongue-in-cheek, about blokes being, shacked up at home and can't escape the wives and stuff like that. But for a guy in his, level of profile, you simply cannot do that. Someone can do that.
He doesn't give a fuck. But he doesn't give a fuck. Yeah. There's a WhatsApp video captured on YouTube of him going around where there's a man after ringing him up, and wanting to basically say to him, a guy from the travelling community say to him, like, just Billy Joe, just tell me you didn't sleep with me missus, like. And he's like, I can't tell a lie. I bent your missus over this, that, the third. Like, he's just fucking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Didn't want the woman or whatever. Then he's going breaking up the fucking family for the crack, like.
The longer this delay happens, that Canelo fight is going further and further away from him.
He'll never get him.
Yeah, you think Canelo wants to be associated with somebody like this getting in a ring with him? No chance. They've got a long list of fighters who will go into the ring with Canelo, and you think they want to go and put Billy Joe Saunders in the limelight? Because you Google his name now, and what comes up? It's nothing about what he's done in the ring. It's everything about what he's done outside of the ring, and that is not a good look. And sadly, he has got bags of talent, and if he concentrated on what he did in the ring as to what he did outside of the ring, where he dicks around and, he's had everybody on Twitter, like, oh, he's a nice guy and people make mistakes and things like that. This isn't one mistake. This is probably mistake number 10, 11, 12. And as I say, when you were in that public limelight, you cannot escape it.
See that audio? See the audio that came out with him talking about his mate getting done off the plane and his mate responding to him. Where did that come from again? Was that off IG or something like that?
It was sent on WhatsApp, that. And he came out saying, like he was concerned.
How did he get on WhatsApp then? It must have been a recording of some sort, because someone must have recorded that and snipped it.
He sent the voice notes to his mate or something like that, and his mate's come back saying, like, we're in deep trouble and things like that. But that's what I mean. He came out in his statement and said,
someone's leaked it, like, haven't they? Someone's forwarded it out.
Yeah, someone's forwarded it.
Yeah, but what you heard from him wasn't actually him making the call, was it? It was like him reacting to it and his mate voice messaging him back.
Yeah, his voice messaging his mate saying, man, like, I'm forgetting the boys and blah, blah, blah.
If I am Josh Taylor, I pack my bags, I leave Ben Davidson before we even had a fight, and I get as far away from Billy Joe Saunders as you can, because it's fighters like him who can drag other people down. Now, Taylor can do what he wants in this sport. He can go as far as he wants. But influences like that in the gym and things like that, he should be walking away, in my opinion. Otherwise, you get dragged down with people like that. You've seen in pictures, wrong place at the wrong time and things like that. Kid Galahad did it. I think Kid Galahad was in the car when they were taking the piss out of what's it called, out of the guy, where they were offering money to go and do stuff. But it's things like that, you just need to get away from him and stay clear.
Evening, Eddie.
Any more boys you want to throw in before the evening finished? Go on, Andrew.
I've got one, mate. One for Mickey Garcia. So he's out about bitching here, claiming that it's almost impossible for him to get a title fight at £140. Right? This is the fucking guy who vacated a £140 belt rather than face Ivan Baranchik as a mandatory. Went back down to 135, to beat Robert Easter Jr. Didn't want to hang about for Loma at 135. Goes to 147 and does absolutely square root of fuck all against Errol Spence. And now he's about bitching about the fucking political landscape and the politics and the business at 140. Well, I'm sorry, man. You better start fucking reaching out to people and start, build some bridges with Top Rank if you want to fight at £140. I'm fucking sick of your little fucking business fucking acumen and the fucking pish fights and performances that you're putting on. I'm fucking sick of it. Now, go back down to 135 and fight Loma. Right, or go down to 140, pay your sanction fees, get yourself ranked with the fucking with the ABCs if you want to, and then get yourself in line for a fucking title fight. Right, stop fucking bitching that nobody will fucking fight you at £140 when you're all so happy to go to 147 for Spence and for Jesse fucking Vargas. It suits you when it fucking suits you, alright? So stop fucking whining and get back in the ring when you get a chance. So Mikey Garcia for me.
Mikey Garcia, absolutely. Ozzie, any nominations from you?
All nominations, and Billy Joe Saunders has my vote.
Roberto, who you got? Nominations first of all, please.
I got Issei Smith got the LBDC guys, or is that what they're called? The LBDC. He got them beautifully this week because Issei did a video dispelling the Glovegate myth. You know, tried on 20 pairs of gloves and basically said, try anybody to try a punch like that. It's impossible. Like, this guy's talking complete nonsense. And then exposed him over the Ice Cube No Vaseline song with a little video montage about him, his earlier days where he wasn't really as black and as militant as he says, like, I got time
he was
for the
he was running for office, wasn't he? T Street's done a big expose on that as well.
Yeah, so that was pretty good. Coogan, man, use your platform better, dude. Evening Coogan. Use your platform better. You have access to all these fighters. All you're doing is these lazy fucking phone calls. Set up a few fucking conference calls. Hype a few fights. Do something. I don't want to see fucking Eddie Hearn's IG fucking live Chris Eubank impression for the 144th time, man. I don't want to hear what fucking Tyson Fury said when he had hair. Fucking use your platform a bit better. Like, we
they're all at it. They're all skipping the barrel. They're all nicking IG videos and stuff like that, sticking it on YouTube.
Fucking, it's cheap, man. Use your platform better. Try and see. Do you know what it is? With a lot of them, they don't know anything about fucking boxing anyway. So all the fucking fighters do all the work for them because they just get him in front of a camera, ask him a few generic questions. Now they fucking separate the men from the boys. Come up with some fucking decent content.
You're a hater!
It's got to be Billy Joe, like, hasn't it? You can't really overlook that. Like, he's had an absolute stinker this week with the like. Again, I didn't read it too much into the thing that fellas do talk like that, but you have to be conscious when, you know, and there's no malice in it, and I'm not defending that, but that's just part of fucking male patter. You understand it, like locker room talk or whatever you call it. Not excusing it, obviously, but like a guy with his profile, you just cannot seem to be saying that kind of stuff on camera. Then got the whole defending the MTK situation. That is what it is. I don't really personally care about it. It's not my job to catch him, but you know, he's not doing himself any favours by drawing more attention to that relationship. And then his NHS water thing, and then his fucking coronavirus episode. He's just waiting for him to do something in the ring, like, and we'd be waiting. So you got to put, you know, in times like this, you have to give credit to the likes of Adrian Broner and Billy Joe Saunders because they're keeping us going for content anyway, if nothing else.
Yeah,
I think I'll probably go for Billy Joe as well. Although it was a strong one from Joseph Ajao. I think the Bacoli one,
and Bacoli was pretty.
That's one of them ones that transcends value of the week almost for me.
You don't even want to fucking draw attention to that.
It's a bit much.
Like,
I remember a few years ago someone was sending one in from this girl and she clearly had like special needs or something, and then one's sort of, I don't know, man, I don't really like touching them as much. It's a bit sort of, there's value of the week and then there's like next level shit, man. You know, you can go and debate that on Twitter. I think Bacoli, we'll leave him to one
side.
Nomination,
Steve. A late nomination for Jason Chucklew saying that he accepted a cigar for Coogan. the old pink cigar, you know.
It was dark. He has regrets.
I mean, I know the situation driving us mental on that, you know, keeping us locked in and that, but, you know, to start spitting out, you know, confessions and stuff like that, come on, Jason, you have self-respect for yourself, keep it under wraps. I don't want to know about you smoking fucking Coogan's cigar. Come on.
Oh, Jason, he's had a mare tonight. We still love him, though. He's coming off with nonsense. He's a good guy.
I fell asleep.
Right, anything else, boys?
Truck was alright.
Who won tonight? Saunders? I'd say everyone was
Saunders,
Saunders,
aye.
didn't they?
Saunders, aye.
Yeah, it's got to be
Unanimous
Saunders,
decision.
hasn't it?
You got the big four eventually anyway. If it's not the middleweight belt, it's the belly of the week. Votes from Rob, Ozzie.
Another 2 hours tonight again, mate. 2 hours, 8 minutes, just about.
Absolutely, going on well. Should we finish up then, gentlemen? I think we shall. Why not? Episode 366. Thank you to everybody who's joined us. Andy Patterson's on the call as always. Ozzie Smith, Rob Kelly, Steve Goodwin, Steve Lillis, Dave the Hater Lowback was with us as well. Rob, you want anything to add in there?
No. That's fucking.
I thought you'd
it's a
unmuted
miracle
yourself
after getting
to-
2 hours. Oh, I probably had. Sorry, man. Go ahead.
I thought you were going to drop some bars for us there, Rob.
They're not paying us enough head job for that, man. You know what I mean? Fucking need to up
Keep
the
an eye-
ante there, up the stakes.
Keep an eye on the Patreon. There could be new content coming soon. So as we're kind of at a loose end at the minute. Just keep a wee eye out.
Yep.
And the iTunes feed. A couple of things dropping
Yep.
on the iTunes feed as well. A couple of punches from the past. The boys are enjoying it. The girls are enjoying it.
And we're on Spotify.
And-
We never say that. We're on Spotify as well, guys.
Oh,
Now we
yeah.
finally broke
Forgot
through
about
Spotify. Doing major numbers there.
Major numbers. Numbers so big I can't even keep up with them. Spotify, I'll add that on now, shall we? Yeah, let's finish up. I've been Steve Wellings. Thank you, everybody who's jumped on tonight and listened in to us indeed. We'll catch you all again for episode 367. Same time, same place next week. Bye.
Good night, Ed.